I'll just warn you in advance that if you find yourself talking during the podcast and then you realize that I am not here, it is probably because I have gone into the next room to throw up. It feels like it has been a month since we've done this, but I think it is because we have both traveled and been very far apart on opposite sides of the world. So it somehow feels like it's been a huge amount of time since we last spoke.
Does it feel different when you're further away from me? Do you feel that? Like, do you feel a separation, a distance?
There is a longing in my heart for you, Brady. And the further apart we are, the stronger it grows, without a doubt.
I don't know. I don't believe you.
I don't understand why you wouldn't believe me. It's like our souls are connected with a rubber band. And the further apart we are, the stronger that feeling grows.
Wow.
That's how I feel about you.
Is this how you talk to your wife, with this much sincerity? And
I
love you more than life itself.
My wife and I are very pragmatic about our relationship. We don't believe in soulmates or any of that kind of stuff. So no, we don't talk this nonsense. Sorry, Brady, I have been talking nonsense to you.
So you don't think we're soulmates?
I do not think we're soulmates, no.
Oh, I know we're not soulmates. Even if soulmates exist.
How are you doing, Brady?
I'm all right, except I just got charged an insane amount of money to have my car serviced. They called me up and they wanted to change my front and back brakes and windscreen wipers and everything, and I'm just like, go on, do it, just do it. And then he called me up and told me what it cost to take my credit card details, and wow, it was a pretty impressive figure. Anyway, I paid it, and while the credit card transaction was going through, I said, "Did you wash my car, by the way?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, we've got it all washed for you as well. It's really clean." Mm-hmm. And that made me happy. It was like, oh, that's all right then. If they hadn't washed it, I was going to kick up a big stink and, can't believe you charged all that money and didn't wash my car. But just because he said, yeah, we gave it a wash, it's like, that's all right then.
Is it all right?
Of course it's not all right. Of course not. But but it just, for some reason, I remember the first time I ever bought a car, and buying a car is a big deal, and I paid thousands and thousands of dollars. This was in Australia. Mm-hmm. And when I picked it up, the car salesman said, "Here's a little something extra for you," and gave me a wink. And it was like a bucket and a little car washing kit with a sponge and some shampoo and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was so happy about that. It was like, oh, that is service. And, I've just given this company thousands and thousands of dollars, and they've given me like a $2 car washing kit.
Right.
But it's funny how those things work. They make you feel special and happy and take the edge off.
So you feel much better about paying all that money because they washed your car.
It's sort of, I was all ready to be angry. Mm-hmm. And then when they said, "Oh no, we don't wash it, that costs like £20 extra," I was going to go, "Oh, it's outrageous." But because they had, I was like, "Oh, fair enough. Good service."
So if I'm ever selling you something very expensive, all I need to do to placate you is also give you something that is free and really cheap.
That's exactly how life works. Mm-hmm. Like when you go and buy like an expensive watch or something, they sit you down and offer you like, a sparkling water or a cup of tea, and they give you like, and it's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Like, wow, what great value I'm getting. This is the way it works with expensive things.
Huh.
Yeah.
I've never come across this in America, but I have come across it here, that when you go to get your haircut, they often offer you tea or coffee while you're getting your haircut.
Yeah.
Which I find just absolutely bizarre and difficult. The logistics of trying to drink a cup of tea anyway while someone is cutting your hair, that's no good. So I always just reject it.
I turn it down as well, you're right. It is hard to drink tea while having your hair cut.
Yeah, because where are you going to put it? You have to put it on that little counter that's 100 miles away from you. So you have to lean so far forward to pick it up. And it's not a relaxing situation anyway.
And you're already claustrophobic, and you've got that big sheet thing over you they put over you, and there's someone close to you. The last thing you want to be doing is having like a hot drink. And
yeah, it would be like if the dentist offered you tea while you're laying there. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? I know, I appreciate the gesture, I guess, but I think you're hoping I turn this down just as much as I will turn it down. So I don't know how we got off on this, but right, yes. Well, if I'm going to sell you something, I need to give you something cheap and free.
Well, no, you asked how I was, and basically I'm a bit grumpy because there's been a few grumpy things going on. I've had an accounting tax form filling out day.
Oh God, you have my sympathies.
Well, part of it's because of you anyway. So,
did you get forms for Hello Internet stuff? Is that what you were doing?
Yes, I had to do some of that. I had to deal with accountants,
Mm-hmm.
and I've just been in a bit of a grump today. I'm just going to say it.
So you're preparing the listeners for Grumpy Brady?
Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That depends on you.
Oh, yeah?
That depends on how much you help me, and how much you work with me on my anecdotes, and how much you work against me with just being silent and going, I don't understand what you're talking about. What's the point of this?
Well, I'm going to give you a free flower emoji right now. There you go. Sent you a free flower emoji. Does that make you happy? Yeah? Do you like that?
Do you know what?
What?
That worked. It's cheered me up. I'm going to make a little screen grab of it. No, why can't I do that? Now I'm grumpy again.
I can't believe that meaningless token gesture worked.
It's really sweet. I've made a little screen grab of it and I'll show it to people.
Great.
I knew we were soulmates. I said we weren't, but we are.
Deep down, you know, Brady.
Can I send you an emoji back?
Okay. I can't stop you. I mean...
All right, let me choose one. I don't do this very often, so I don't really know where they are, but I'm going to choose one.
Okay.
Oh, I know what I'll send you.
What are you going to send me?
I'm going to send you this one. Hang on. Let me find it. There we go. That's the Lulu Audrey emoji.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It looks like it's a fox.
Yeah, but it also kind of looks like them. It's their kind of colour, you know.
It is, okay.
And Audrey and Lulu look a bit like a fox, don't they, you know?
We can say that if that makes you feel better, yes.
So let's get follow up out the way, and then we'll talk about our travels and whatever else we're going to talk about.
Right. Yes. We must follow the format of the show.
Exactly.
We mustn't go off on tangents.
Well, I think that some stupid, pointless discussion at the start almost is a format of the show now. So we've taken care of that.
Yeah, we have to get warmed up.
Yeah.
I have to de-grump you with flowers.
That's right. Yeah. You're making me smile again. So you are responsible for most of the follow-up items here, I think. One of them is about skyscraper.
Yes, I know you like skyscrapers. And last time we spoke, you told me about and sent me an article about the tallest skyscraper that was planned for Europe in Switzerland, I believe.
Yep.
And I was disappointed because the article had no photograph, and so we basically didn't talk about it at all. And someone sent in an article that did have a photograph for the planned skyscraper. And I think it looks amazing. This is actually something to talk about. Are you looking at it right now?
I have a couple of things to say to it.
To the tower. Okay, what are you going to say to the tower?
Well, I'm going to say to you about the tower.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
One is, it says here in the article, it's 381 meters tall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess that is quite tall for Europe. I was going to say that's not tall, but I guess for Europe that is tall.
Are you just going to compare everything now to the Burj Khalifa or Dubai?
Yes.
Or I can't remember.
I am.
Then
yes.
You are going to be disappointed at literally every other human structure.
Yes.
Okay.
The other thing I will say I'm going to take the wind out of your sails before you even talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you this will never happen.
Oh yeah, I looked at this too and thought this does seem like a concept. It doesn't seem like a real thing. For those who are listening in audio form, it is basically a very, very narrow, almost cylindrical glass tower that is designed to be a resort. So it looks like there are maybe just 2 rooms on each floor, and it's just very narrow and very tall in the middle of this tiny, tiny village, which is what makes it striking. And it's supposed to be some kind of very exclusive spa resort, which makes it a kind of interesting building. But yes, I agree with you. I looked at the pictures and I thought, boy, that looks great. And that also looks like an architect's wet dream that they have designed, but will probably never come to reality.
Indeed. So I'm not going to give it any more of my time.
Okay, well, we'll move on then.
Unless there's something else you wanted to say.
No, that's it. We're done.
You do like your very modern, sleek glass towers, don't you?
Yeah, who wouldn't? You wouldn't, I guess.
No, I do like them. I do like them. I mean, Burj Khalifa is very, very ultra modern and quite sleek. Mm-hmm. It's not quite as minimalist as I think your style would prefer. But, yeah. Okay. What's this next item?
So the next item on follow-up is, on our last show, you were talking, Brady, about how you have become a kind of a hero, a person for young people to look up to, for those who don't drink coffee. Do you remember this?
Yeah, when you say it like that, it makes me sound a little bit full of myself. But
Well,
yeah,
I just listened to this like an hour ago, and yes, you were describing how young people the world over could look up to you for not having drank coffee in your entire life. So
I was being a little bit facetious, but yes, I did say those words.
You didn't sound facetious at all. I think you were basically folding your arms and waiting for the statue to be erected to you of Brady, hard as nails, non-coffee drinker dude. Right, that's going to be a statue somewhere.
Well, that's not something I'm lobbying for. But if someone does choose to build it, I'm not going to stop them.
You wouldn't object.
It's not for me to say whether I deserve a statue or not. Let the listeners decide.
How very modest of you.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm worthy of a statue. That would be, But statues have been built for lesser men.
Right. That's all you're saying.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm saying if someone was to start a little Kickstarter or something, I may give them a retweet.
You're going to be in trouble now with that.
Kickstarter for a statue.
Yes, of Brady not drinking coffee.
Yeah, looking hard as nails.
Right, yeah. Big caveman pectoral muscles.
Well, sounds like you've got some designs in mind already. Sounds like you've been thinking about it.
I'm working with some architects right now.
Yeah. All right, cool.
But anyway, I wanted to say that I am going to jump on this hero train as well.
Oh.
So I can have a statue right next to you.
Yeah.
Because last episode, when we spoke about being recognized as a regular in the situation where you go into Starbucks and they know your order ahead of time, or in a restaurant where they recognize you as a guy who comes in all the time.
Yeah.
And I talked about how much I did not like it. I have to say, I received very, very many positive pieces of feedback from lots of different people saying, thank you, CGP Grey, for speaking out on behalf of all of us introverts. And so I felt like I was a recipient of this as well. Like I'm an introverted spokesman here for people who just don't want to talk to other people in the shops. They just want to complete their commercial transactions without fake social interaction. I'm here for you introverts. I'm here to speak on your behalf and to let all of these extroverts who feel like they need to fix us know that we don't need fixing. We're not requesting any fixing. This is just a preference we have that we prefer to avoid. So anyway.
There does seem something wrong with sort of public acclamation and a statue for someone celebrating their introversion.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you would do that statue.
Yeah.
Maybe the statue would actually be a house, and you can only see it from the outside, and the actual statue is on the inside. That would be a monument to introversion. That's how that would work.
Yeah.
I think that's what you would want.
Fair enough.
So yeah, you don't need to fix introverts. We just have preferences that are different from you extroverts, and that's not wrong. We don't want to do some things that you want to do. Your lives exhaust us.
That conversation did come back to me today, actually. I was thinking about it at the post office because I was in quite a long line waiting to get served, and it was around lunchtime, and it's the time when lots of sort of lonely people, I guess, come out and go to the post office, sometimes for things they maybe don't even need to go to the post office for, because I just think they want to have some human interaction and chat to the people who work at the post office. And I was like just waiting forever as old person after old person told the post office woman what they'd had for breakfast and what their nephew was up to in France and things like that. And I was thinking what I wouldn't give for a couple of CGP Greys in front of me at the moment just to get in and out like a Formula One pit stop. But it wasn't to be. I had everyone there.
Yeah. And how real and genuine do you think those interactions were? How much do you think the post office people were enjoying those moments?
Do you know what? I think it meant a lot to the people in the line. And I stand by what I said last time, that a lot of people long for a sense of community, and that means something to them. And while I'm being, a bit arsey and saying it was a pain for me, I'm being entirely selfish, and I think it's a really nice thing that those people can go out and talk to the person at the post office. And I still think you're a little bit in the wrong.
I'm still asking you, though, what do you think the post office employees think about that?
Do you know what? I think they would say, isn't she a sweet old lady? Because it's not like they're getting paid less. I think if I was sitting there and doing the drudgery of transaction after transaction, I would welcome the variety of someone telling me something different or something interesting. I love a job with variety in it, and variety comes from people. You're not going to get variety from just selling stamps and, taking money for people's bills. You get variety from someone telling you something interesting or making a joke or saying you look nice today or, those things are nice.
So, dear listeners who work in retail, I think you should tweet Brady with your thoughts on regulars who visit your establishments. Do you enjoy interacting with the regulars? Do you not enjoy interacting with the regulars? Let Brady know. Tweet at him. Tell him your interesting thoughts. I'm sure Brady wants to hear.
Well, it's a very self-selecting sample I'll hear from, but I think human interaction is a good thing, and people crave it. People crave it.
You always do this. I'm not arguing against human interaction.
This kind of sounds like you are.
I'm arguing against this kind of weird one-sided human interaction across a commercial exchange. All right, I'm not saying, these people shouldn't go to the local community center or someplace where they can have a more genuine human interaction. I'm saying that the post office line is perhaps not the best place for this, because yes, it's someone who's talking to you, but they're talking to you because they have to. It's not an equal moment here between person on the line and person who is being paid to serve the person on the line.
Well, how about we try and make it an equal moment and just care about each other for a few seconds?
All problems are best solved by just trying harder. That's always what I like, not system solutions.
Good for you, Gray. Sounds like you're making progress.
I think I've made you grumpy again. I'm sorry.
You got another flower handy?
I do. Let me select another flower for Brady right now.
Oh, it's going to be different to the previous one.
Well, I want you to know that you are getting a special thought from me at this very moment, right? I'm putting a little bit of effort into it. What should Brady have right now? Oh, I know what he should have. I'll send him this one.
Here it comes. I got the... Oh.
What'd you get this time, Brady?
I got a sunflower.
Oh, there you go. How does that sunflower make you feel?
It makes me think of the Fibonacci sequence.
Oh, yes? Are the seeds Fibonacci sequence? Is that what it is on sunflowers, or is it the petals?
The spirals. Yeah,
it's the spiral on the inside?
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope it cheered you up.
Thank you. Very nice. I wonder how many more of those flowers are going to be required before the end of the show.
Since you seem to be in quite a grumpy mood, I'm beginning to worry about how many are left, actually. How many different flowers can I possibly use up here? Ooh, luckily there are a few more in iOS, the new iOS. So yes, I have a couple of extra spares.
Selfies, autographs. What have we got with selfies and autographs?
Oh, yes. There was a very small point that I just wanted to clarify. Again, talking about the recognition conversation last time. Mm-hmm. And at one point, we were discussing the awkwardness and the weirdness of selfies and signatures, like someone asking for your signature at particular moments. Mm-hmm. And there was just some feedback in the Reddit that I wanted to clarify, which is that, like, when we did the Random Acts of Intelligence show, that is the appropriate moment for selfies and signatures. So nobody should feel like, I'm making Gray feel really awkward if I'm asking for his picture. At a public event he is attending on purpose, right? Like that I just want to be really clear about that. That is not a moment when it feels awkward. That's a moment when it feels very natural. Like, I'm going to this thing. It's like a working event. Like, it's very, very different than a situation where I would just be walking down the street, minding my own business in my hobo clothes, going to pick up some milk, and somebody spots me and says, "Oh, hey, can we take a picture? Or can I get your signature?" Right? This is the line in my mind of, like, is it a I'm on? It's a business moment. It's like a professional moment, or it's an event. Is very, very different from the moment when it's just like, I'm just living my life like a normal person. So, so I just wanted to be really clear about that. That's the line. So, if, say, I don't know, maybe I might be meeting you sometime at a Star Wars event with Darth Vader. Selfies and signatures and stuff like that is A-okay at that moment. Don't feel weird. That's perfectly fine. And you too, Brady?
Okay. So I can take a picture with you then, can I?
Yes, you can get a selfie with me at that moment.
I also want to follow up on this.
Yeah.
Because I have heard from some people about it. And I wasn't going to follow up on it, but coincidentally, I received 2 emails within 30 seconds of each other, which is very suspicious, but I think it's a coincidence. And they both dealt with a similar thing, and it makes me feel compelled to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And that is, one of them was from someone who heard me talk about sending me emails and asking me to suggest things to you. And they were so apologetic. They said, oh, a while back I sent you an email and I said nice things about you, Brady. But then I also said, can you talk to Gray, and you should talk to Gray about this.
Isn't that the way you wanted things, though?
Yeah,
I thought you wanted to be flattered first. I think that was the clear message that came across.
Well, partly. But this person felt bad. And I just want to say, I don't know if you feel this way, but I suspect you do, and I certainly do. When we talk about this stuff, it's really just so we've got something to talk about, and it's things we have in common, and it's a bit of a laugh, and that. And, like, you shouldn't feel bad if you have sent us an email or you've done something and feel like we're talking about you specifically and we know who you are and we think less of you. Like, that could not be further from the truth. And I'm never thinking of anyone specific when we talk about this. And most of the time, it's just for fun anyway. And also, I'm exactly the same. I have sent emails to people and they probably have, it's not been an email they've responded to or wanted. And, like, I'm the same as you. I'm the same as everyone. And we're not sort of judging or thinking ill of people. So don't feel like you now have to write and apologise. Like, it's not like I've got some list of people who have emailed who I think are silly billies. I do more stupid things than anyone on earth, and I'm not judging anyone. We're not talking about anyone specific. We're just talking because I don't even know why we're talking. Because we've started a podcast and we kind of have to.
Right. We've started a podcast, and it should be clear to any listeners who have followed us from the start, we've obviously run out of specific topics to talk about. And so at this point, we're just kind of talking about whatever.
We're talking back. Basically, we've run out of, like, historic things to talk about. So now we're just telling anecdotes in real time.
Right. That's exactly it. That's what this has become. And also, I think, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of the things that I'm aware that I find very interesting is just kind of getting a glimpse into somebody else's life who I don't know. And you sometimes want to know what is different about their life. And I think we were talking about a lot of this stuff because it is just a weird experience to have, like, a bunch of people who follow your work and who you don't know them as individuals. And there are just weird and interesting situations that come out of that. And so, yeah, that's what we have been talking about. We definitely will talk about it again in the future. But yes, it is important to keep in mind that we're not talking about anyone in particular.
Except for you, Tim.
Sorry, Tim. But yeah, I have had that same experience where you're listening to someone you don't know say something, and then you feel like, oh God, they're talking about me in particular. But it's never about you in particular.
And I have to say, I would much rather someone came up and said something awkward or the wrong thing than didn't come up at all.
I would much rather they don't come up at all. But that's why we're different people.
Yeah. So I feel a bit bad now. And I've spent way too long basically just saying, don't worry about things you do. If we make jokes about things, Gray and I do a lot of stupid things as well.
Yeah. I can definitely agree that Brady does do a lot of stupid things, like ask people who are not on the plane to tweet you.
Especially me. I'm very dumb.
But seriously, if you're not on a plane, stop tweeting us.
Yeah.
Now we are talking to you.
Yeah. Let me clear my throat.
Yeah, take your time.
Actually, I'm going to have some water here.
That was not a real throat clearing. What was that?
No, it was a joke one. I didn't want to do a big yucky phlegmy one because that's just not classy, and I'm a classy guy.
But did you need to clear your throat?
I did, but I used water instead.
Oh, okay.
I've been a bit bunged up. Do I sound nasal?
You sound tired. You don't sound nasal, but you do sound different.
Oh. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was probably the wrong answer. You're probably just supposed to, like, encourage me and say, no, you sound good. You're doing a really good job.
No, you sound grumpy and tired.
Let me talk about something that will make me happy. This is not the start of a new series called Cricket Corner, as some people have requested, and I would love to do, but I can assure you Gray would veto. Cricket being the sport, by the way, not the creature.
Right.
I have to bring up cricket because since we last spoke, Australia won the Cricket World Cup.
Oh, yeah?
And this is a cause of much joy for me.
Congratulations.
Made me very, very happy. And I didn't talk. The World Cup had been going for a month, but I hadn't spoken about it or done any trash talk or anything because I'm so nervous and pessimistic about cricket. I didn't want to say anything on the record that could be used against me. But now that it's all over and Australia have won, I just want to gloat a bit and say how fantastic Australia is at cricket.
How fantastic are they?
World champions for the 5th time. 5 World Cups.
In a row?
Not in a row,
Oh.
but close to it. And no other country has won more than 2. So that's how good we are.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Who's the next best?
I would say, well, the runners-up, I have to say the runners-up in the tournament were New Zealand, but I wouldn't say they're the next best. I would say South Africa or India are probably next best, but...
See, what I want is the ratio of wins per population whenever I hear about sports. Right? Is that like that to me is the relevant thing. Like, you should expect that a country like India or China or the United States would win way more sporting events simply because they have way more people to draw from. So you can find the unusually talented people in that group. That does
oversimplify things somewhat, though. Like it doesn't take things into account like cultural considerations.
Yeah, I understand. Like in America, I think interest in cricket is probably much smaller than it is in the UK or in Australia. But I still think it's a good metric. Like whenever the Olympics are on and they go, "Oh, America won 1 million gold medals." I think, well, yeah, but I really just want to know how many gold medals divided by how many people live there. Like New Zealand winning a couple of gold medals is probably way more impressive than America winning 10 gold medals. Right? I think there's a big difference there.
But then that does lead to your sort of statistical aberrations too, where one freak person wins 3 gold medals from some country, and I mean, if you do that, yeah.
I still think it's a better metric to just try to compare countries. So, but it sounds like if India has won 2 and Australia has won 5, that Australia is doing quite well.
Well, thank you.
How many people are in Australia? I always forget.
I don't know anymore either. It's in the mid-20s, isn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna guess around 30. Now I have to look it up.
It was like when I was growing up, it was always 18 million, but it's gone way up since then. Or was it 16 when I was growing up? I don't know.
Population of Australia. Oh, it's 23.13 million.
Can I just say,
yeah,
you've let me down a bit on the cricket as well, Gray.
I'm sorry, what have I done?
Like the first thing I said, like when Australia won the Cricket World Cup, I was hoping you would ask me questions, but I wasn't hoping it would be trying to kind of, it would be about populations to figure out, well, hang on, how good is Australia really? Is there anything else you'd like to ask about the Cricket World Cup?
No.
No?
Is the trophy pretty? Is there a trophy?
There is, and it's a bit disappointing, actually.
Oh, what do I have to look for to find it?
Cricket World Cup trophy would probably do it.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of the Cricket World Cup trophy, to be honest.
Cricket World Cup trophy. Oh, is it this golf ball looking one?
That would probably be it. Quite big, though. Bigger than a golf ball. But yeah.
I have no sense of scale. It's just a picture in the abstract. But
well, find a picture of someone holding it.
There are 1,000 pictures of this golf ball thing. None of them have people. Oh, there we go. There's one. It's a sphere as big as a human head.
Roughly.
That seems all right. Is it supposed to be a cricket ball, I guess? Are there balls in cricket?
Do you know, it never ever ceases to amaze me how little you know about sport. Just when I think you couldn't know less about sport, you say something else that makes me realise how little you know.
Well, I know they have the funny bats, and so they must be hitting something. But it never occurred. Like, I know the guy throws something, but it just occurred to me now. Maybe it's like I don't know, what's the funny tennis one with the feathers on the end? You know what I'm talking about.
A shuttlecock.
Shuttlecock, yes. The shuttlecock, right? Maybe they're throwing something like a shuttlecock. Like I'm going to assume from your exasperation that they are not throwing a shuttlecock.
No, they're not.
They're throwing a ball. Is it like a tennis ball?
They're not. You don't throw it, you bowl it. And it's
they're not
a tennis ball.
I know enough to know that is a bunch of crap. You might use the word bowling, but they throw it.
Gray, if a bowler throws the ball at the batsman, he is disqualified from playing the game. Players get banned for throwing the ball in cricket.
Okay, but this is going to be some nonsense technicality that if you do it overhand we call it throwing, and if we do it underhand you call it bowling or something.
Oh,
but
man.
you're throwing it. Here's my question for you. Does the ball? Okay, wait, first of all, can we confirm it's a ball, right?
Yes, it's a hard leather ball, about the size of a baseball.
Okay, so it's like a baseball. So do they roll the baseball the entire length of the way to the guy with the bat?
No.
Okay, then they're not bowling it. It's not like bowling.
Oh,
have you
so
seen
you think of
bowling?
Okay, you're thinking of like 10-pin bowling and lawn bowls.
Yeah, that's bowling. Is not bowling. They're throwing it.
They're not throwing it. Throwing has a definition as well. You do throw a cricket ball, by the way, but you don't throw it at the batsman. But the fieldsman can throw it to other fieldsmen.
But it's in the air most of the time, right?
It bounces once. It bounces once on the way down.
Okay, they're throwing it. Maybe we can call this he bounces it towards the guy. It's not bowling. I'm sorry, cricket. You're just wrong. It's not bowling.
Well, I have to say, when I envisaged telling you about Australia's triumph in the Cricket World Cup, I did not imagine we would be talking about shuttlecocks and throwing balls at batsmen. But there you go. You can't legislate for ignorance.
Nope, you can't. Anyway, I'm glad we've established that it's throwing.
Yeah, it definitely isn't.
No, but it is.
Yeah. One day we will do a podcast about cricket.
Yes.
That will be our final podcast, probably. But
yes.
But
I have agreed at some stage to go to a cricket game with you, in which I can probably ask an endless series of infuriating questions, and that very well might be the end of our friendship.
Do you know what? I can't think of anything more pleasurable than sitting at the cricket and just being asked questions about cricket for 8 hours. Like that's like my dream day.
You say this now, my friend.
But you have to be more malleable and let me explain to you that there is a difference between like throwing and bowling and things like that. You can't. It's not your job when I teach you about cricket to like prove me wrong. It's your job to learn.
Right. Okay. But
understand.
As I will grant you that there is a difference between throwing and bouncing. So they bounce the ball at the cricket guy.
Right.
Yeah. Settled.
There are different it's like you don't say that the pitcher is throwing the ball at the batter in baseball. It's
sure you
pitching.
Do.
You
no,
could.
He's throwing it.
Yeah, but you have a name for it, so you can differentiate between different types of moving the ball from one place to another.
Yeah, like you're throwing it overhand or you're throwing it underhand.
So we say, okay, well, let's call that pitching.
Right.
And let's call throwing what the fielders do when they throw the ball to the men on the bases and things like that. We'll call that throwing. So now we have different names for things. Makes it a lot easier to communicate what's happening in the sport.
Yeah, but not when you use a word that has a totally pre-existing meaning to mean something else.
Oh, man. I cannot tell you how much you are going to hate learning about cricket. Because in cricket...
You mean the sport named after a bug? Yeah.
Yeah, because in cricket, the word wicket has so many meanings that it is truly astonishing how many different things that word can mean in different contexts. Like you can say, and like talking to someone who understands cricket, they know immediately what you mean. But if you don't, I was once working on writing like a little explanation of cricket, and it was the word wicket that has stopped me going ahead with it so far because it can mean so many things.
This sounds like a terrible sport.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Great.
It's my favorite sport.
I'll watch it with you one day.
I look forward to it. I don't believe it will happen, but I look forward to it.
This will happen someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not like going to Nepal. This will actually happen.
All right. So that's the end of Cricket Corner.
Corner.
Until next time.
Hello, Internet. This episode is brought to you by Harrys.com. They cut out the middleman and offer an amazing shave at a fraction of the price of the drugstore brands. Their starter kit is just $15. That includes the razor, 3 blades, and your choice of Harry's shave cream or foaming shave gel. And as an added bonus, you can get $5 off your first purchase with the offer code HI. After using that code, you'll get an entire month's worth of shaving for just $10. Not only do they have an amazing price on the products themselves, but shipping is always free. And I can tell you, it's really irritating sometimes to go and buy a cheap product online, but then find out that the shipping is just as much as the thing you're actually buying. With Harry's, that's never the case. Now, not only is it cheaper, but it's also faster. The whole reason I love buying stuff online is because it saves you time. It saves you errands from your life. And just getting razors delivered to your door automatically is a great experience. You don't have to go to the supermarket or the drugstore to try to get them, and depending on where you try to shop, sometimes razors are behind a counter and then you have to wait for a dude. And sometimes you'll even have to make uncomfortable small talk with the dude. And that is just the worst. I would pay to not have that experience. Now, just because the prices are low doesn't mean that the blades are cheap in quality. Harry's actually went out and bought this 93-year-old German factory to custom make their blades. That's some nice attention to detail. The Germans, they're very good at their engineering. They know what they're doing. And they're just an interesting company. Harry's is less than 2 years old and is already disrupting the shaving industry. And their co-founder, Jeff, also co-founded eyewear brand Warby Parker, where if you've tried them, they're a similar idea with glasses. It's very interesting seeing the internet being used for these kinds of normal products to make your experience with buying things great and still maintaining excellent craftsmanship, great design, and amazing value and highly personal and dedicated customer service. Also, it's worth just getting a Harry's kit to see their adorable little logo. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but you should definitely try them out and see. So once again, go to harrys.com right now, and Harry's will give you $5 off if you type in the code HI with your first purchase. That's harrys.com and enter coupon code HI at checkout for $5 off the starter set, and start shaving smarter today.
Let's talk about what's been going on. We've both done a substantial amount of travel.
Yes. You have been to the other side of the world and back.
I went to Australia. I was going for a friend's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was that I would arrive on the evening of his party as a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would spend the rest of the week having a holiday on an island that his wife had arranged for him and myself and some friends.
Mm-hmm.
I got to the airport. I was flying via Dubai on a Qantas plane, and I arrived at the airport to be told the plane had broken and they were using a different plane, and there was going to be a 2-hour delay.
Is this in London or is this in Dubai?
This is in London. I haven't even gone anywhere yet.
Okay.
But I am always ultra cautious about my connections because I'm a bit paranoid.
Because stuff like this happens, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was also, I didn't want to miss the party. So I think I'd built in a buffer of, a good 4, maybe 5 hours connection. I think that's sensible.
Well, it depends on how long the flight is.
Well, this is true. Anyway, 2-hour delay. I was like, oh, it's cutting it fine, but got on the plane. 2 hours late, we pulled back from the gate. Then the plane stopped for 15, 20 minutes, still on the tarmac, 20 meters from the gate.
That's the worst.
And then the captain comes on and says, something's broken on this plane, navigation system or something. We're just going to go back to the gate and get an engineer on board to fix it. We think it's a problem with the computer. So we go back to the gate. They say, we're going to keep you all on the plane because it would take more time to get you all off the plane and on the plane than it will to, it was an A380, so, there was a million people on board. So I was sitting on the plane. I put on The Godfather Part 2 because that's just my go-to film on planes. And start watching that. Halfway through, pilot comes back. Oh, it turns out maybe it isn't the computer because we've replaced that, and now he's going to have to replace a sensor outside the plane. So first thing that occurs to you is, well, hang on, if they're actually fixing parts of the plane, this is more worrying.
Mm-hmm.
But putting that to one side, because I don't worry about that kind of thing, I now realise I'm going to miss my connection. It turns out we were at that gate for, I reckon, a good 3 hours, well after The Godfather 2 had finished. I watched the whole of The Godfather Part 2 just sitting at the stand on the plane. We ended up leaving 3 or 4 hours late. Missed my connection. Missed the party. Boo-hoo. But then had a fabulous time away on the island and had a really nice holiday. I also coming back, my plane got delayed, but I didn't have as much buffer this time. And I sprinted to make the connection. And like I got on the plane puffing. It was like the sign was saying, this closed, final call. And I ran and I ran. And I got there and I was like, no one was at the gate except the staff, and they let me on. And I was like, thank goodness, sat down. And then the pilot comes on and says, oh, a whole bunch of planes have been late today, so we're just going to sit here for another hour or so and wait for all the other planes to arrive. So then I ended up sitting on the plane again. It's like, I could have gone shopping and still made that flight. The flying experience was unpleasant, and because it was such a short trip, it was all quite near each other, and it's such a long flight. So I was feeling a bit negative about planes this week. But I had a really good time in Australia. Tell me your trip went really well, and that will balance things out.
I had the exact same experience with you flying, because on our way out, my wife and I were going to Las Vegas, and the plane broke down on the runway, basically.
No.
Like, you know how you were saying how the pilot tells you, oh, they're trying to fix a sensor or something? I always feel like, and I was saying to my wife on the plane, why on earth is the pilot telling me all this stuff? Our pilot came on, and he was a super chatty guy, and he kept telling me all these things that I just felt like, please don't tell me this. I'm just, you know what? Like, okay, the plane needs something fixed. Fine. That's all I need to know. But he starts coming on and he goes, oh, yeah, there's a minor problem and we brought in some engineers and they're looking at it. And he comes on 10 minutes later and he's like, oh, we got a big problem here. Our hydraulic system is leaking all over the place. He's like, it's the landing components of the plane. He's like, this is a big deal. We're going to be here for a while and the engineers need to come back in. Later, he's going, oh, it's a problem not just with the hydraulics, it's with this. I'm like, why are you telling me this? I don't need to know this. I don't need to hear this. This is not information that is relevant to me. I don't want to hear about all the various components of the plane that are falling apart around me, right? Just has it passed the safety inspection to fly or not? That's all I need to know. And between then, you can just tell me, oh, there's a problem with the plane and we're working to fix it. Sorry for the delay. Who wants to hear all these details? I mean, do you want to hear? I guess you do. You probably do. So.
I like a bit of info. Is there anything they could say that would make you get off the plane?
Well, I mean, you can't get off the plane at a certain point.
There's nothing they could say that would make you demand to be let off.
Well, I mean, I'm not even sure that they would, but I mean, I guess I kind of.
What if he came on and said we've had a bit of a problem with the hydraulics, and I'm not 100% happy with it, but we're going to go for it anyway.
I think I might not be the only person requesting to leave under
Do you know
those
what? I can
circumstances.
imagine everyone would just stay silent. In England, at least, everyone would just be like, "Oh well, mustn't grumble."
Yeah. A lot of lemmings would just say, "Oh well, yeah, I'm sure." I
but
feel
what
like
introverted CGP Grey would get up and demand to be let off? Would he? You'd be the saber rattler, would you?
I think if the pilot was like, "I'm not 100% sure about this duct tape job they've done, but let's give it a go, shall we?" I think I would really try to get off that plane. Because again, I mentioned it last time, but I find when like you're flying over the endless deadly Atlantic Ocean and your mind just like I'm trying to sleep, but I will wake up and just suddenly think about thousands of feet below you is an endless black abyss of nothingness, right? And
it's not nothing. It's a whole lot of water and fish and
things that can eat you, right? And cold death by exposure. It's just like, and I think that on flights anyway. But then to have it in addition, like, oh, I wonder if they really taped that leak up good or not. Right? This is not something that I really want to know about. So I'm always just baffled when the pilots want to tell you about stuff.
If at 30,000 feet the plane fails, the endless deadly Atlantic Ocean and its body nibbling fish are the least of your worries.
I hope. I really, honest to God, I hope. But.
What happened then? So how did it get resolved? Obviously, the plane took off.
Yeah, eventually they took off, but we were on the ground for an hour and a half or so.
Oh, nothing.
Yeah, it would be nothing, except my favorite part of this was the air conditioning wasn't working.
Ooh.
They go, oh, we have to shut down the air conditioning while they're fixing the hydraulics. And so it was terribly, terribly uncomfortable being in a metal cylinder with a couple hundred other sweaty monkeys all generating monkey body heat. And I was just trying not to pay attention to any of it. But yes, eventually the plane did take off and we got there. But I'm always just baffled by the pilot announcements. Even just the normal ones, like when the pilot comes on, he's like, "Hey, let me tell you what the weather is in this city." I never feel a need for any of this stuff. I feel like they should have the little pilot channel for the people who want to hear this. They can tune into that and just leave everybody else alone. Nobody ever needs this information. It's available on the screens everywhere on the plane anyway. I don't get it.
I'm always surprised they tell you the heights they're going to fly at as well.
Yeah.
Because that does seem that seems to serve no useful purpose, but does serve the possible purpose of scaring you about how high a plane flies.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, we're going to go to 28,000 feet and then we're probably going to then move up to 30,000 feet later on. It's like, well, I love planes and even I don't need to know that stuff.
Yeah. I don't get any of this. I don't know why the pilots talk so much. Every time they come on, I'm just ugh.
Also, now that you can listen to the entertainment system and movies like on demand, so you can start them before the flight, it's always really annoying. Like, it's always like, shut up! I don't care that you're about to close the duty free. I just want to watch my movie.
Right.
Like, does everything have to interrupt the movie? I understand maybe if they say, sorry to interrupt the movie, but we're about to crash. Please get in the brace position. Fair enough. Interrupt my movie then. But don't interrupt my movie for all these inane announcements. There's too many of them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is why I don't use the in-flight entertainment system if I can possibly avoid it. I load up my iPad with everything I could possibly want to watch because in addition to just irritatingly stopping your movie, the pilot announcements are always so loud.
Unbelievably loud.
Right? It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I have tinnitus. I value my eardrums. I can't be exposed to random loud sounds. That includes your voice, pilot dude, telling me about what the weather is 8 hours from now in Las Vegas.
And I think dangerously loud. I agree with you. I think that how loud they are is dangerous.
Yeah. So pilots, maybe not so much talking.
Oh, man, we are such a grumpy old men.
So grumpy old men. Anyway, we got to Las Vegas just fine. We didn't die because of the hydraulic system. The plane didn't skid to a crash landing in Vegas or anything. We landed just fine, but I had additional anxiety for no reason at all because the pilot was just too chatty. That was my flight.
All right.
So anyway, that was that.
Basically, you just don't like humans, basically. You don't want to hear from them. You don't want to talk to them.
Under most circumstances, yes, that's entirely true.
Hmm.
Do you want to also know why? It's because humans cause most of the problems. Right? You watch that air crash investigator thing. How many times is it a human problem versus a mechanical problem? I'm going to bet it's hugely human problems.
Well, and the mechanical things are made by humans, so everything comes back to humans.
Well,
personally, I blame the Wright brothers for everything.
Yeah? Is that what you do?
It can all be tracked back to them.
I'm not sure it really works like that. I'm not sure that's really the case. But yeah, it's always a human's problem. I'll be very happy when the planes are just totally automated, when everything about them is totally automated.
Yeah.
That would be great.
You've said something about security lines. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, actually, that's because I don't really have very much interesting to say about my vacation.
I will be asking you about your vacation, but
I do.
let you do your security lines first.
I do have something else to complain about. I hope people don't mind. So several podcasts ago, we talked about how the security lines at airports, they really need big signs, big pictographs indicating what people should do. I flew out of Heathrow and I'm getting through the security, but the sign says, take out your laptops. It's the only thing they indicate that you're supposed to take out. And as you know, the thing that irritates me most is how this comes to iPads. I had the most frustrating iPad experience. So, okay, laptops out. We get to the front of the line and the lady then tells us, oh, you need to take out your iPads. Okay, great. So now my wife and I are digging through our bags for our iPads. We take the iPads out. And then she looks at us and says, but not iPad minis, after we had taken them out. And so she goes, those have to go back in your bag. Like, are you freaking kidding me? So you have to put it back in the bag. And this is the kind of thing that I just like, I don't even think that was a real rule. I think this is just something that she was thinking, because I swear every time I go through Heathrow, it's different about the iPads.
No, not 64 gig minis, only 32 gig.
I was like, are you serious? Like, this can't possibly be the rule, right? Show me somewhere at Heathrow where someone said, oh, you know what we should do? iPads out, but not iPad minis. It can't be true. I refuse to believe that is true.
Well, that's just probably just a size in inches, where there's a threshold somewhere, and the mini and the normal iPad strand that threshold.
Yeah, I would believe that if it wasn't different every single time I go through Heathrow. I think it's just whatever the person happens to think it is. It's like
it's the same with shoes. Shoes are like that too. Yeah. Those shoes you have to take off, but those ones you don't.
Right. And oh god, so. So it's just infuriating. And then, so when we're flying out of Las Vegas, when we're coming back, it's the exact reverse. Oh God, the Las Vegas airport was the worst. But we're flying out and we take out our iPads now in advance. And at Las Vegas, they go, oh, please put those back in your bag. Don't take iPads out, just laptops. It's like, God damn it. Like, you know how you could fix this? You could fix it with a fucking sign right there that shows you a picture of what comes out of the bag. But no airport does this.
Gray,
Right?
do you know what? Do you know what? You're right, and it would help you. But as I have said before, people in airports are morons. And you could punch them in the face and tell them that they have to get their laptop out.
Okay.
And they would still get to the front of the line
Okay.
and go, I didn't know about the laptops.
But listen. Surely the TSA agents, the security agents, want the big signs there, because I'm so aware of how on the line the agents still have to address each person individually for the stuff that they just don't know, and they can't possibly know because there's no indication anywhere of what it's supposed to be. And okay, so flying out of Las Vegas was like an amazing experience with the security lines. Like, I can't believe how incompetently this is set up. It's McCarran, I think, is the name of the airport, but whatever. It's the big Las Vegas one. So we get to the airport, and because I'm already now riled up from our flight out of Heathrow, like, oh, security lines, they're terrible. So now I'm looking around and paying attention to how this is going to work at Las Vegas. Not a one sign anywhere. No signs, no indication of shoes, belts, laptops, anything. All they have is a video that's playing above the place where you're supposed to queue. Now, let me tell you how much I hate these videos at airports, because there's so little information that needs to be conveyed, right? Shoes, belts, iPads, laptops, jackets. They're like 5 pieces of information, but they'll manage to stretch it out in a video that takes 5 minutes and is trying to be funny, you know, showing funny situations of people like, oh, look at this idiot doing it wrong. Do. The videos take forever. But at Las Vegas, the thing that I thought was great was, oh, we arrive there, and we happened to arrive at a time when there was basically no security line, so we could get right to the front we could get right to where we're supposed to do the bags. But we went so quickly, I couldn't even have watched the video if I wanted to. So I thought, this is like an amazing self-correcting system. If there's no line here, because people get to the front, they can't have possibly watched the video they were supposed to watch. Now they have no idea what to do, and suddenly it takes longer. It's like the system is designed to make sure there will always be a line, because if it gets too short, the people at the front don't know what to do, and now it's going to take longer so that the people at the back can then have time to watch the video. It's like it's guaranteed to make sure there's always going to be a line. It's just infuriating. Like, just a sign. Just put up a sign. That's all I want. Just a sign.
The two things that of the last sort of week or so that I've spent a lot of time with is airports, and also I've spent a lot of time, more than I usually do, around some young children. And I've noticed something, because to me, something I've realised about childhood is basically it is just like children are really selfish. And growing up is kind of a gradual process of becoming less selfish, with a few little ups and downs along the way. But when you think about it, for example, like, you know, there's nothing more selfish than a baby, is there? You know, a baby feels a mild inconvenience, mild pang of hunger, and it just starts screaming and screaming until it gets fed. Like, right. And then younger kids, you know, little kids are quite selfish, and then you get a bit older and you start learning a few manners, but they're still pretty selfish, really, and they do some pretty, you know, because they're still learning. I understand they're learning. And you get older and you learn manners and you learn, you know, other people have to have a turn. And then you become a grown-up.
What I think it is that the baby is basically like a little monkey when it's born. And the process of growing up is the process of building layers of self-control on top of what is basically your monkey brain in the center of things. Yeah. And your monkey brain is always screaming about whatever the hell it wants at the top of its lungs. But if you're grown up, you have many layers to try to keep this under control. Okay. But like that's everybody still has that, like at their absolute core.
What I think happens is when humans set foot in an airport, they become monkeys again. That because they just become completely selfish, and like everything is about getting on the plane first, for example, which is completely pointless because you're all going to arrive at the other end and get off in the order you have to get off in at the other end anyway. But people become just ruthless about getting on the plane first or getting this and getting that. They become very...
I'm going to disagree with you about getting on the plane, simply because there is very often not enough space for the bags. So it does matter about getting ahead first.
Okay. Well, they're still being super selfish because they become ruthless about it. They become ruthless like you wouldn't else. Yeah, okay. I'm with you.
I agree with you, but they are put in a situation that anyone would do this. Right.
Fair enough. It's never been a problem, but I accept that. The baggage coming off the plane and around the carousel, I mean, I know, I know Dirk did a video about that too, with the selfishness of people and that. But that is ridiculous how selfish people are about their positioning to get bags off the carousels. Mm-hmm. Like everyone is just rammed right up against it to the point where you have to like battle through them to get your bag, whereas everyone just stood back and relaxed. It would be absolutely fine. Mm. I find people's behaviour in airports an amazing mixture of utter stupidity and pure selfishness, and it does my head in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel good about people at an airport?
I generally, you know what? I don't. I think there are very few redeeming things about airports these days, except that they're the place you go to go to nice places.
Right. Except that they magically whisk you across oceans. Yes. That is the upside.
Yeah. And for that reason, I keep going to them.
Yeah. The thing that I find baffling, talking about people being selfish or rude at airports, is when you see, like, as much as I complain about the security line and how terrible things are set up, I cannot believe it when people are angry or rude to the security agents. I always feel like, what do you have a death wish? You want to get pulled off into the special room? Like, no, of course you don't. But I am amazed that people can't keep it under control in the security line.
I am so polite and nice to them that it must almost seem weird.
I am never more like turned up my I will be deferential and respectful to authority knob, right? Like that is at 11 when I'm on the security line. Right?
Like also when they ask you, have you packed anything dangerous and you're checking in and stuff, like the people checking me in too, I am like, those people get lovely Brady.
Exactly, yeah. Everybody is sir or ma'am. It doesn't matter if they're a 19-year-old drooling idiot, right? It is, yes, sir, right? No, sir, yes, ma'am,
yes,
no,
I packed
ma'am.
my bags with the most sincere look.
Full sentence answers in every possible way that I can, right? It's just that the person who goes through that security line is like a part of me that only exists in that security line, right? That human is never alive at any other moment, right? But he springs into existence to be super deferential then and never again.
In fact, that's how you met your wife in a security line. She's like, you've never been like that since. Where's the grey I met in that security line all those years ago?
Right. Yeah, you have to be a different person. But I am baffled when I see people being rude. I just feel like, man, what must you be like under normal circumstances? Because I'm assuming you're on your best behavior now.
At what point would you stop being like that? Like, if they did take you into the room, would you be like, would you like to check any other cavities? Well, like, at what point, I don't know at what point you stop being that deferential to them. What could they do that would make you?
The moment you do get taken aside is a moment things can change very suddenly, right? Because the whole point of being super polite and deferential is to get through unharassed, right? But the moment you're pulled aside for harassment, it's like, okay, now the strategy changes, right? Now it's time to lawyer up, and now this is a very different moment here. But anyway,
how was Las Vegas? I can't imagine you in Las Vegas.
Why not? Why can't you imagine me in Las Vegas?
Because it's like, I think of Las Vegas as a place of, like, fun.
You don't think of me as fun?
I don't imagine you enjoying fun.
I think that's definitionally impossible, what you're saying there.
Yeah, but this is you. Like I just imagine I don't imagine you would find fun, what the masses find fun. And Las Vegas is all about what the masses are supposed to find fun. What do you find fun? What do you like about Las Vegas?
I can see where you're coming from, because I don't gamble and I don't smoke and I basically don't drink and I don't like staying up late at night and going to wild parties. So it seems like Vegas might not be the place that I should go.
You love strip clubs, though.
Yes, I was trying to imply that with the parties thing.
Okay.
Right? Like, let's keep it family friendly here.
What do you like then?
So, I really love Las Vegas.
White Tigers?
I
Barry
have
Manilow?
I have not seen any of these shows. No, I love Vegas because I feel like that is a city that is. It really knows what it is, and there's no place else on earth like it. And even now, I'm really just talking about the Strip, because when I go to Las Vegas, it's not like I'm exploring the suburbs. I have no idea what Las Vegas is like 2 parallel streets over from the Strip. I've never been there. I have no idea. There's just this tiny isolated island that is Las Vegas as far as I'm concerned. But I love just the ridiculousness of the whole city and how it feels like it's really true to itself. Like, we are going to have crazy resorts that would make no sense anywhere else in the world. Like, oh, we're going to build New York City inside of a city. Yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea. We're going to have a gigantic pyramid just down the block. Thumbs up. This is a great idea.
But then how do you, I respect that, but how does that keep you occupied other than looking at it and going, huh, nice one, Vegas. I like what you've done there. Like, other than looking at it from that perspective, what do you do? How do you engage with it? Like, how do you spend your time?
When I travel now, one of my primary things to do is just have downtime. I don't travel to see things really anymore like I used to when I was kind of younger. I am now traveling in a very different way, which is trying to cordon off a section of time from my regular working life where I can just do nothing. And my wife and I went to Las Vegas because we do really like that city. And it's a great place to be able to rent a really nice hotel room for relatively cheap and to just be able to kind of like veg out. And we did see a few shows while we were there.
What'd you say?
We saw La Rêve, which was like this water. It was like a Cirque du Soleil style water show that was very. It was one of those things where it wasn't so much about the show itself. It was more about this amazing theater that they had built to do the show.
Yeah. So
that was very interesting because there was the whole center of it was just water, and they were able to pour water down from the ceiling. So it was very interesting. And then we saw, it was called Zarkana or something like that, which was Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of Cirque du Soleil shows because I've been to Las Vegas a lot, and apparently every single hotel is required by law to have a Cirque du Soleil show in Las Vegas. I think that's written into the charter. So I've seen a bunch of them. I would not recommend Zarkana as people's first Cirque du Soleil show if they've never seen something before. Yeah. And the reason is my wife really nailed this one on the head, because we're watching the show and I'm sort of frowning at it because one of the things they're doing is, okay, so they have all the acrobatics up front, but what they have behind are kind of 2 layers of screen where they're projecting stuff in the background so that they don't have to do the sets so much. They can kind of change the feeling very quickly of the stage by changing what's being projected in the back. But they also then made the terrible, terrible decision to, on those projectors, also be displaying people who are additionally doing acrobatics. So it's like you have the actual actors on the stage, and then behind them, they're playing pre-recorded people who have done stuff.
Right.
But then, of course, they go crazy because, like, well, this is all on the computer. We can make the people in the background do anything. And right. I was watching the thing the whole time. I'm like, I don't quite like this, but I can't put my finger on it exactly. And when we came out, my wife said, that was the George Lucas special edition of Cirque du Soleil shows. Right. I was like, bam, that was exactly it. You put
too much stuff. Too much stuff crammed in.
Yeah, it's like the George Lucas trailer for the new Star Wars movie, where the scene that I love was like, oh, the original there were 2 TIE fighters. It would be more impressive if there were 1,000,000 TIE fighters. And the Cirque du Soleil show was like that. Are 5 people on stage impressive? Surely 1,000 people dancing behind them on the computer is 1,000 times more impressive.
Doing better stuff by the sounds of it. You'd be going, oh, I think I'm missing a better show. Well, the one behind the screen there looks really good.
That's exactly it. Oh, we'll have them fly through space. We'll have them do all kinds of stuff they can't possibly do. It's like, no, this is much worse. This is much worse. So it wasn't bad, but I would not, like, if you've never seen a Cirque du Soleil show, I would not pick that as the first one to go to. Yeah. But anyway, so we saw some shows, but mostly there was like a lot of lounging. Occasionally my wife and I would just walk through the casinos. Like, we like to go see them and try out different restaurants and things, but it's a very, very, very low key.
Did you gamble at all? Did you bet once?
I did not bet once, no.
Did you put a coin in a slot machine?
I did not. Slot machines are just too small stakes for me. They're just totally uninteresting.
I agree. Slot machines are pretty boring.
Yeah, it's like, why even bother with this? Oh, I'm going to put in a quarter and I can possibly win 10 quarters? Wow. Take my breath away with that excitement.
You could win the big jackpot where the alarms go off and everything, but
Not even all the slot machines have that. I don't gamble much, but if I'm going to gamble at all, I want a big payout.
you do sometimes get. I've had some big payouts on slot machines, and
How big?
that is
How
quite
big?
a fun feeling. Oh, I don't know, probably.
$1 million?
Yeah, I've had a couple of $1 million ones, but I don't like to brag.
Yeah, no, you haven't. What have you won? $50?
No, you're right.
$100?
Yeah, 50, $100 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is what I mean. Like, if you're when you gamble, mathematically, you are guaranteed to lose. This is how it works. I always think the casinos, they're like this hilarious testament to the fact that everybody loses. Right? That it's like this big altar to the fact that you will lose. But people still go in and gamble. If they find it fun, that's totally okay.
Losing's more fun sometimes too, though. I remember going to a casino in Adelaide with some mates, and right at the very start, I did some crazy bet, and I won like a decent amount of money. I was quite young, so it would have probably been like $100 or something, $200. And but to me, it was like a fortune. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm the big winner. And everyone was like, Brady, that's amazing. You've just had a big win. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to lose that now because I want to leave here a winner. So I stopped gambling like after 10 minutes. And the rest of my mates just gambled all night and had fun and drinks and lost some and won some and had a like for hours had fun. And I just sat there not gambling because I didn't want to lose my little win at the start, and so I could leave happy as a winner. And I had a miserable night and they had a brilliant night. So sometimes losing's more fun anyway.
Yeah, that sounds like a terrible strategy for an entertaining evening for you.
I know.
To go out with a bunch of people who want to gamble and then not gamble.
Well, I wanted to gamble too, but I also wanted to be a winner.
All right. So you were just overtaken by loss aversion and you just sat there like a grump.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I remember I used to get the taxi home from a cab rank near the casino, and after one night out, I had like my cab fare left, and I went to the taxi rank, and then I thought, do you know what? And I went into the casino, into the roulette table, and put my cab fare down and said, if I win, I get a free cab home. Like bet on black, And if I win, I get my cab fare home. And if I lose, I'll walk home as my punishment. And I won. Got a free cab home.
As your punishment for being stupid? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you went ahead with it anyway.
Yeah. And it worked.
But see, that's exactly the kind of bet I hate. So small stakes.
Doubling your money.
Yeah. I mean, the roulette table has got to be some of the worst odds in Vegas. I mean, this is one of the things I do love about Las Vegas is like the systems of it and the math of it everywhere. But the roulette tables, I think, is one of the worst gambling things that you can possibly do. The odds are terrible against you at the roulette table.
It's very easy and unthreatening though, roulette for gambling. Like it's very if you're not an experienced gambler, it's a very easy one to do.
Yeah, but I think those things are related. That it's super easy to do, but also has terrible odds. Games you need to learn more about, you can make the odds less bad, but they're still terrible. But it requires more effort on your part, so you get more serious players going.
Is roulette that terrible when you do some of the higher stakes bets? It's pretty, just towards the casino, isn't it? Like roulette's pretty. I don't know.
That's what I mean. I forget what it is, but like the maximum bet is something like 37 times your money back. But if you just do the odds of what's the likelihood of the wheel landing on there, it's awful. Like they should be paying you a much higher amount if it was actually fair, which of course it isn't. But it's those two zero things at the end that really kill everybody. But
yeah.
Anyway, I still say like those small scale bets, I'm not interested in those. If I'm gambling, I would gamble in the lottery where I can win enough money that I never have to do anything ever again because I'm guaranteed to lose my dollar.
Yeah, well, that would sound a lot less hollow if you ever gambled at all, which you don't. So
I have occasionally bought lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're asking me if I gambled in Las Vegas, and the answer is no, because none of those bets interest me. But every once in a while, I bought lottery tickets. I haven't bought them recently because I think you could make a graph of how sad do I feel about my life and how often have I purchased lottery tickets, and those two things are super highly correlated. Like in my final terrible year of teaching, which was perhaps the worst year of my adult life, I'm pretty sure I bought a lottery ticket every Friday. And I'm pretty sure that I haven't bought a lottery ticket in maybe 2 years now, maybe even
Definitely
longer.
not since the podcast started.
Yeah, definitely not since the podcast started. So yeah, I think that that graph would be the case. But yeah, I've gambled sometimes, if you're going to count that. But you like to do your I'll take a 50-50 chance on just outright losing the money and costing myself an hour of my life.
I do not like gambling. I'm not a big gambler.
Mm-hmm.
I will have a go if I'm in Vegas, just because it's like, Vegas, baby, this is what we do. But
you don't have to. You don't have to do it. You can go to Vegas and never gamble once.
Yeah, I know. You could do that. You could go to the moon and shut your eyes and never look at it as well. But if you're going to go to the moon, you go and look at stuff. If you're going to go to Vegas, you have a flutter.
You have a what?
A flutter.
What's a flutter?
I think that's an Australianism for having a little gamble, but like just a little fun bet.
Is it supposed to be like your heart is a flutter? Is that the idea?
It's the same word. I don't know if it comes from your heart fluttering. I don't know what the origin of it is, but having a flutter is having a gamble. But yeah,
a flutter.
A flutter. It's the Grand National horse race tomorrow. You're not having a flutter on that?
I do not know what this is.
It's a horse race.
Yeah, I gather that it's a horse race.
There are no balls or shuttlecocks involved. Nothing will be thrown. Horses will run.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Are the horses actually running? Or
two or three will die.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's unfortunate.
It is. It's terrible.
Do people take bets on the horses that will die?
No, I hope not. That would be terrible as well. But I remember, I'm not a big fan of...
the bets wouldn't cause the horses to die.
No, that's true. I'm not a big fan of jump racing. But I was sort of neutral about it until one time I actually went to a jumps race.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood right next to the jump because I thought, oh, this will be really exciting because I'll, see the moment the horses jump over and maybe I'll see a crash and it'll be really interesting. And the horses came running up to the jump. And the look on their faces, like as they came up to the jump, like they were pulling back and they looked terrified. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is horrible what they're doing. And as the horses approached the jump, I was like, oh no, please, no one get hurt. And they all jumped over and I was like, oh, thank goodness. And they went around and did another lap and they came up to the jump again. And I was like, please, horses, I promise I'll never come to the jump races again. Just, I hope you all get over it. Mm-hmm. And they went over and one of them fell over and they had to kill it in front of me.
Well, what a delightful afternoon that sounded like.
It's terrible.
Have you ever been back?
No. I am having a flutter on the Grand National tomorrow, though.
I don't understand you at all.
But I'm not a big fan of jumps racing. I do love animals. And I probably shouldn't be betting on the race tomorrow, mate, now I think about it, but
yeah, that sounds terrible.
It was my wife's fault. She emailed me and said, pick a name that you like the look of. And I just look at the names of the horses and pick one that has something to do with the moon. And I always bet on that one. And there was one called Tranquil Sea, which sounded like Sea of Tranquility.
Sea of Tranquility, yeah. There you go.
See how we go.
Did you win? Did your horse die?
Well, people listening will know. I do not at the moment because the race has not happened.
Right. Okay.
It's tomorrow in Brady and Grey time. It's 2 or 3 days ago in podcast listener time.
God, I hope Sea of Tranquility doesn't die then. That'd be really morbid.
Tranquil Sea. If it dies, what are you going to do? Are you going to edit the podcast?
No, I'm not going to edit the podcast. I'm going to finish this in the next couple of days. Oh, wait, the race is tomorrow?
Yeah. I'll tell you if it dies and then you can decide. It won't die. It won't die.
You know what? Don't tell me because I'm just going to leave this in here anyway because you're the monster who is encouraging the horse death race. What's it called?
Grand National.
The Grand National.
Yeah, it's like the most famous horse race in the country you've lived in for the last 10 years. And it's like a real institution of the country.
Just because something is the most famous thing in a country doesn't mean everybody knows about it. There's like an endless number of most famous whatevers in a country. But
like if you met like a 35-year-old American and they'd never heard of the Kentucky Derby, what would you think? I mean, I know what that is, and I'm not American.
Okay.
Because it's like your job to know things like that.
I only know about the Kentucky Derby because I happened to be in Kentucky once when the Derby was going on.
I'm sure as a kid, if someone had said to you, baby grey, name a horse race. That's the horse race you'd name.
I'm not sure I would have been able to pull that out of my brain before you just mentioned it. I mean, now, yeah, I know the name Kentucky Derby, but why should people know about the most famous thing of whatever? It doesn't mean anything.
I think it is good.
What's the most famous car race in the UK?
Well, in the UK, you would have probably the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and I can name the 2 or 3 most famous race. I can name the Daytona 500, and I can name the Indy 500, and I can name the Le Mans 24-hour race. Like, I can name the most famous of things because I think that's just part of being like a person. Like, part of general knowledge is, even if you don't know about something, to know something of it. Don't you think?
Obviously not, no. I couldn't have named that car race. I think you just happen to know this stuff because you follow the news more than I do. And
okay.
I've never followed cricket.
No. Cricket's a bit more forgivable, but because it's a bit more niche. But I think you should be able to name like a famous horse race.
Oh, this is all under the umbrella of sports, right? That's what it seems like. This is all sports.
All right. Well, what about a famous painting or a famous Beatles song, or a famous building? I think you should know like the famous. Like, I'm not an expert on architecture, but I could name like a couple of famous buildings, and I'm definitely no art expert, but I could name a couple of famous paintings and
Mona Lisa, Starry Night, Jackson Pollock is not a painting, but he's a painter.
Oh, I know one of his because I grew up being fascinated by the Blue Poles by Jackson Pollock. Scream.
Oh, is that the name of it? Is that the name of it? The Scream?
I don't know. It's probably not.
Oh, okay. So you don't know either. You're just showing off. I can name paintings too. The Door, the Grand Latte, the iPhone Plus painting. That one's very famous. I'm looking around my room trying to think of things.
Yeah,
you don't know what you're talking about.
I know. Of course I don't. But I know a couple of things, and I think you should know what the Grand National is.
Okay. It's the race where horses die that Brady bets on them.
Yeah. All right. And you should also know that cricket is not played with a shuttlecock.
Apparently not. My whole life will be different now. Now that I know that piece of information, I just can't imagine how different my life is going to be.
Yeah.
The next time I talk to you, I will know that piece of information. And everything will be different.
All right. Life is not just about knowing what you need to know to make it to the next day. Life is not about...
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But there is an infinite amount of things to know. And you always seem to think that I should know the things that you know.
Well, no, but I just can't figure out what the things you know are, except for how to work OmniFocus.
I think OmniFocus is a sponsor today.
Perfect.
Doodly-doo. Hello, Internet. Yes, this episode is indeed brought to you by OmniFocus. Brady had no idea before we started to record, so this is just the greatest ad transition ever. I have talked about it many times on the podcast and definitely a lot on Twitter, but in case you are unaware, OmniFocus is a complete task management system. You are able to, and I definitely do, boil your complex life down into something manageable and easy with a system that covers everything. OmniFocus can hold your personal projects and your work projects and any other projects that you have all within the same system, but allow you to look at things separately. So you can say, I just want to see the projects that I can do when I'm home, or I just want to see the projects that I can work on when I'm at the office. You don't have to see everything in your life at once. OmniFocus is really, really great at allowing you to cut down and to filter out stuff that you don't need to see right now, but you do want to keep track of. OmniFocus works on your Mac or your iPad or your phone, so you can have access to your whole life everywhere. I personally like using my Mac for more heavy lifting with OmniFocus when I'm really sitting down and trying to get an overview of my entire life and how to arrange all of the projects that I'm working on. And I like to use my iPhone for some very quick checking off of things like when I'm doing errands or when I'm just cranking through a couple of checklists. Just boom, 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 hit those buttons on the iPhone. It's very satisfying. And everything syncs together automatically using their free, open, and secure omnipresence. So anything that I add or complete on my iPhone is there on my Mac as well. There's so much to talk about with OmniFocus, I almost don't know what to do for this ad read, and I'm just so excited that they're sponsoring the show. Probably the best way I can describe it is that OmniFocus is just the control center for my entire life. Everything that I have any commitment to doing, it goes into OmniFocus. I track all of my video production in OmniFocus. I track all of the podcast production in OmniFocus. I track all of the personal projects in my life in OmniFocus. Everything that I need to do goes in there. I don't know how I would manage my business today without OmniFocus. If you feel like you need to get your life more organized, OmniFocus is an excellent, excellent app. Now, you don't have to take my word for it that OmniFocus is great. You can try it out, and they are so confident in their program that they offer a money-back guarantee. That is not something you're going to find very often. So there is no downside to trying out OmniFocus. Go right now, if you're listening on your iPhone, open up that app store, type in OmniFocus, download the app, give it a go. Oh, one final thing. I don't know if you've heard or not, but Apple, they're coming out with some kind of watch. OmniFocus is going to work there too. I cannot recommend it more strongly. Go check out OmniFocus, and thank you very much to the Omni Group, creator of many, many wonderful apps that I use, for sponsoring this episode of Hello Internet. That's going to be a really awkward transition if it's not OmniFocus. If I start doing an ad for Audible.
I think it's time to move away from our official sound effect and just use a recording of us going doodly doot.
Yeah, is that what you think the listeners would like that?
Yeah. Anyway, I'll stop berating you for your lack of knowledge of horse racing.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know why this bothers you so much.
You are back from Vegas, and you've been moaning about jet lag.
Right. Yeah, I am out of my mind with jet lag right now. I have to admit.
You warned me that there was a possibility you would throw up from jet lag. Is that a thing that happens?
That happens with me routinely.
Wow.
Yeah. This is yet another reason why I don't like to travel very much. But going west is relatively easy, because when you go west, you just have to stay up later, which is kind of easier to do. And you tend to wake up earlier, which is something I like doing anyway, so it's fine. But when I come back to London, I am in terrible shape for a week. And I'm really not back to normal for about 2 weeks. This is just the way it has always happened. And people close your Twitter and email clients right now, people, because I already know about every app in the world which is supposed to help with jet lag. I have already tried various melanin and sleep pill treatment. Like, I've done all of this, right? I'm aware. Trust me. I've looked at, so you can close that client. I don't need to hear about it.
But CGP Grey, there's one thing that always works for me.
Thanks, nerd. So yeah, I'm still going to hear from those people.
No, I'm going to hear from them.
Send him an email that he'll send to me. That's his favorite. But yeah, so I just react very poorly to this. I think it's partly because I don't react very well to missing out on sleep as it is. And what I've been doing now, because when we're recording, I arrived yesterday morning, and like it takes me a while to break out of this bizarre like quadriphasic sleep schedule that I get into when I come back, which is to fall asleep for a couple of hours and then be awake for maybe 5 or 6 hours and then fall asleep again for a couple of hours and then be awake. It's like I can't sleep when I want to, and I fall asleep when I don't intend to, and it is really hard for me to break out of that, and it takes a while. And I have tried absolutely everything, but it is bad enough that I routinely do throw up when I come back, when I travel eastward anyway, far enough. And I just feel really terrible. I mean, even as it is right now, I apologize to everybody if I've been a little bit weird on this podcast, because I feel like I'm in a dream state right now. Like, this isn't quite real. Everything feels weird. It's like, is Brady real? Am I real? Even at this very moment, like my teeth don't feel real. Like, I'm very, very overtired and feeling absolutely terrible. And this is one of the very many reasons why I don't like to travel. And sometimes when you get offers to do like speaking things, people are like, oh, hey, why don't you fly out to America and you can do a talk at this thing for a weekend? And always I have to do the mental calculation of, oh, yes, it would be a day to do this thing plus 2 additional weeks of terror.
Of figuring out if my teeth are real.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus 2 additional weeks of feeling awful and wondering if my teeth are real. Yes, that's true. So it's just, it is awful. And because I know this, like when we did the Random Acts thing or the couple of YouTube conferences that we've done, because those are events where I have to be like a normal, sane person, and going west is easier. But even then, I always try to schedule it so that if I can, I visit my parents on the East Coast for maybe a week to like adjust to the time change before then going on. Because like if I had gone straight from London to Alabama, I would have been hallucinating by the time the show came out, especially with Destin's crazy schedule. So any time I travel, if it's really important, I have to do it in like little stages. Otherwise, I just feel awful. So I am not expecting to be very productive over the next week. I'm just trying to get this podcast out, and that's like my one goal for the next several days is, can you edit the podcast? I think I can do that, but I'm not back into my normal writing working schedule just yet. I don't know.
You're not hard as nails, are you, mate?
I am not hard as nails. I am not like you, because you fly to Nepal and get right up in the morning and hunt down an antelope and skin it and eat it with your bare hands. Is that what you do? Is that how you travel?
The only part of that I don't like the sound of is the morning. I'm not a morning person, no matter where I am.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I wait till the afternoon to skin my antelopes.
Right. In Australia. I mean, because when you're going to Australia, you're traveling east.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's so far around. I don't know how. I mean, like
I think it's so far around that it doesn't count anymore.
It doesn't make any difference anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, because when you talk about, I'm going to go to a friend's birthday party in Australia, all I can think about is I was literally talking about my wife with this before about, what if we ever wanted to go to New Zealand someday? And I'm immediately trying to plan out how we could strategically move time zones a day at a time to get to New Zealand. It's like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to travel west. We're going to go to the east coast of the United States for a couple of days, then the west coast, then we'll go to Hawaii, and then maybe we'll go to New Zealand. And that's the only way I could do it without just losing my mind.
Have you been to Australia?
I have never been to Australia. I have never been to New Zealand.
Well, why are you not planning to go to Australia?
I was just mentioning New Zealand because that's been on our travel list for quite a while.
Why is Australia not on your list?
It's full of spiders, and it's like a big empty desert. Is that accurate? Spiders in a desert? Like I love the desert. I think I mentioned before, my favorite part of America is the American Southwest. What does Australia have that is better than the American Southwest? And don't tell me the Rock.
Australians?
I know lots of Australians here.
We'll talk about this later.
I don't need to go to Australia to talk to Australians. Every school I've ever worked in is filled with Australians, particularly
every podcast you do, you talk to an Australian.
This is true. I talk to an Australian all the time. Yeah?
Let's move on.
Not a selling point.
Let's move on before you upset me. And if you upset me, you upset your mum.
You can't hold this over me all the time.
I'm going to try. Let's move on to some topics. I think after an hour and a half, we've done enough follow-up and catch-up. Let's actually talk about stuff.
Have we not? I don't even know what we're doing anymore. Where am I?
Gray, just listen to me. Just listen to me for one moment. Are you ready?
Yeah, okay.
Your teeth are real.
I swear to God, they feel like they're not. They feel all fuzzy.
I didn't want to talk about this, but I feel like we have to talk about this for a few reasons.
Okay, what is this?
And that is the Apple Watch. I feel like we have to talk about the Apple Watch. The main reason being, I think in 2 weeks, the landscape will have changed. And the things I'm thinking now might not be things anymore. And I want to get them off my chest while I still think them.
Oh, please do. Go ahead. What's on your mind about the Apple Watch?
Well, I don't like it.
Let's just very quickly, for the record, today is April 10th, which is the first day people have been able to see and or pre-order the watch. So that's the context for whatever you're about to say.
Okay, and the few reviews have come out in the last couple of days, so we're getting the first idea of what people think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to have I don't know what your position is yet. I don't know if you're pro or anti. My guess is you're becoming pro. That's just the feeling I've got from nothing. But I'm anti. But I want to start off with a few little caveats and explanations.
Okay.
And context. The first one is I'm not anti-gadget watches. I grew up obsessed with the idea of gadget watches. Like, calculator watches.
I was just about to ask, did you have a
Yeah.
calculator watch?
Yeah, and actually I have one now that 6 months ago I wore for a few weeks just for the fun of it, and I quite like it. And also I used to have a watch called a Citizen Windsurfer, which was quite gadgety and had unnecessary displays on it, but I thought it was really cool. So I grew up quite obsessed with gadget watches.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm not anti-Apple. I use lots of Apple stuff, and I really like it. I think Apple overall makes my life easier and more beautiful than the alternatives. So I'm pro Apple as well. There was something else I wanted to say, but I've forgotten what it is. But the most important thing, and I haven't told the listeners this yet, but it's time to tell them, and that is I have acquired my dream watch.
Mm-hmm.
I do now have, and I have had for a few months, my Omega Speedmaster. So this is now permanent resident on my wrist.
Some of the listeners have figured this out.
Yes.
Because one of our videos on the Hello Internet YouTube channel was nothing but gorgeous close-ups of an Amiga Speedmaster.
Yes.
And some people put two and two together and realized that was Brady's Amiga Speedmaster.
Yes. So I have got that watch, and obviously that makes the real estate of my wrist occupied, and I'd be reluctant to replace it with an Apple Watch.
Right.
So that's where I'm starting from.
And as you told me at the time, one of the reasons you got it when you did was precisely because the Apple Watch was coming out.
It did feel like a time to do it.
Yeah, if you were ever going to do it, this was the time to make a statement about watches on your wrist.
It is kind of the year of the watch, isn't it? Because of this.
Yes.
So that's kind of my position. And I might have a couple of things to say. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is I am aware of the reviews of it, obviously. And the thing worth saying is I have not yet even seen one, even from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been near one, other than obviously all the promotional pictures. So there's me, and I just don't like the idea of them as well at the moment. And I do realise in a few weeks this may all change, and in 6 months I may be wearing one every day.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, that's my position.
Would you wear it on your other wrist so that you have the Amiga Speedmaster on one wrist and the Apple Watch on the other?
I would not do that.
No?
No, that would be stupid.
Would it?
Of course it would.
I think you could pull it off, Brady.
Now, you are a watch wearer. You have a very lovely watch, old-fashioned watch.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you standing at the moment on Apple Watches?
You are right. I have changed my position on the watch for a couple of reasons. And I did two things today. One was that I pre-ordered an Apple Watch. And two was that I booked an appointment at the Regent Street Apple Store to go in and actually take a look at them in person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned, because of my horrible jet lag, this morning at 8 a.m. London time was the time to pre-order. And I went to bed last night and I set an alarm for 7:30 so I could get up in time. And luckily, I woke up at 2 in the morning. And then I was awake from 2 in the morning until some unknown time when I fell asleep in a different room, separated from my alarm, and woke up at about 8:40 a.m. to do the pre-order, which was about 1 million years too late because everybody in the world was staying up to pre-order their Apple Watches. And so by the time I got there, they were already back ordered until June, which made me very sad. But so curse you, jet lag. I hate you for the way you make me feel. I hate the way you just cost me several months of Apple Watch time, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Because after I ordered the watch, I immediately just fell asleep again. And then I woke up and I thought, you know what? Let me actually go out and take a look today. And I was able to book an appointment. Amazingly, I couldn't believe they had anything available. And yes, went out to see them in person. So I am more pro Apple Watch now than I was before.
Why?
Well, there are a couple things that have changed since the last time we spoke. One of which was my big complaint last time was I have way too many things to charge, and I don't want another thing to charge. But since we spoke that time, Apple has actually killed off for me 2 devices that I normally babysit. Number one is my Fitbit, because now my phone takes over for keeping track of walking. So I've totally ditched my Fitbit. And as we discussed at great length, I have also given up on my Kindle. So I don't have the Kindle anymore. I'm using my iPad and my iPhone to read instead. So I'm still at a net win for charging devices. I went down 2 and then up 1 now for the Apple Watch. So I'm feeling like I came out ahead on this. So
Could have stayed down too, but anyway.
Yeah, but I'm still like, I'm at a net win for this, right? It's not like, oh, I have one additional thing.
Okay.
And the second thing is seeing what Apple has done with notifications and the way they're trying to make it work seems really interesting to me. That I don't get a lot of notifications, but I do like the idea of being able to select a very few that I can just see what they are quite quickly on my wrist without having to take out my phone. So, for example, setting my wife to be a notification. So when she instant messages me, I can just see that immediately on the wrist. I don't have to take the phone out of my pocket. Because this is going along with also getting my iPhone 6 Plus. I feel like these two devices were kind of made for each other. That the iPhone 6 Plus is something that you don't necessarily want to take out of your pocket just all the time at a whim. And like the Apple Watch is a nice companion device for that. So you have like your big phone in your pocket and you have the watch on your wrist, and the watch is doing like notification triage, that there's an additional level of filter here so that you can check it out quickly. Over time, I've just become much more interested in what it can do as Apple has talked more about the specifics, and I'm just curious to see how it works. And like it's an interesting product, and I'm excited enough about it now that I think, you know what, I'd like to give this a try. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to fit into my life or how it's going to work, but I've crossed a little tipping point into deciding, yeah, I'm going to pre-order it, and I'm very curious to see how this goes. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think buying something and making it part of your life just because you're curious. I don't know. I don't know what I think about that.
It's a bit like when I got my very first iPhone. I had a dim notion of, situations where I might use it. And of course, I just had no notion of how life-changing that device was going to be. I don't expect that the Apple Watch is going to be the same level, because going from not having the internet at all to having the internet everywhere you go was amazing. It was just such a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I can see the watch being maybe an order of magnitude less life-changing, but still interesting enough in ways that I can't quite anticipate now. And also ways that I think you just can't know unless you actually try it out. Right? Like before, like I got the iPhone 4. So there were iPhones for a long time before I got mine. And I had been hearing people talk about how different their lives were once they got those phones. But here, that didn't make any difference to me, and it didn't seem real until I actually got one. And then I understood, here's how I can use it. Here's how this is useful to me. So that's kind of how I think about the watch. Is I'm interested enough to purchase it and to try it.
Mm.
How's Grumpy Brady doing over there?
Well, let me start with me specifically.
Please do.
And obviously, I have now become an extreme edge case because I now wear a watch that is like quite niche and quite like.
I don't think that makes you an extreme edge case.
No. But like it's like my watch is worth more than an Apple Watch for a start, and it's like it's like a luxurious thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so that would be, that would mean demoting something that's quite precious to me, has quickly become quite precious to me. So obviously there's a resistance there.
I see what you mean. Yes,
but also I understand the Apple Watch is a lot nicer looking than it appears in pictures. I accept that will be the case. I don't know, but I don't particularly like the look of the thing. But I'll take people's word for it that it actually looks really nice in real life. But I don't particularly like how it looks. The thing is, at the moment, like my watch is purely a device that brings me happiness and pleasure and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like how it looks. It's like ornamental. I tell the time with it, a bit. But and I look at it and it makes me happy because I think about, obviously it's this Apollo moon watch, so I think about the moon and the heritage of it, and it's a manual watch that I have to wind, and I quite like the little process of doing that. It's like a little happy ritual, and I feel it clicking, and every morning, and at the moment it's purely decadent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thing of beauty and happiness,
Right.
and that's all it is.
Yeah, I think you'd like your Amiga Speedmaster a lot less if it also beeped every time you got an email.
Yeah, it's just a nice thing in my life. Now, I see the Apple Watch will have a usefulness. How useful it is, I don't know. We'll find out over time. Pretty smart people are making applications for it, so I imagine it will become useful pretty quickly. But also with that comes another thing to distract me, another thing to cause me stress when the wrong person emails me or notifies me, another thing that I worry about how much charge is left on it. It's just another thing. And my phone is already this incredibly dominant feature of my life that has become this, very useful, and I couldn't live without it, but it has also become this anchor. And I don't want another anchor. And I know this sounds really old-fashioned as well, but where is this going to stop? Like, where is the slow creep of useful things that have to go from being beautiful to being functional going to stop? Like, at what point are we going to say, well, how stupid is it to wear earrings just for ornamental sake when they could also have headphones in them? Or, why wear a wedding ring? Why is your ring not a smart ring? That's stupid. Like where is the line here? Like, at what point are we going to just say, okay, there's useful work things, and there's functional things, and here are things that are just like nice and pretty, and I know technology can be nice and pretty, but I just feel like it's this technology is like this virus or this thing that's just spreading into everything else, and now it's going to spread into watches as well, and I don't know.
You are definitely right that technology spreads. And this is a function of technology getting smaller and cheaper all the time. So it makes sense to put tiny computers in all kinds of things that it wouldn't have made sense to put tiny computers in 5 years ago. And 5 years from now, many more things will have tiny computers inside of them.
But just because you can, does that mean you should?
Well, all the light bulbs in my house now have tiny computers in them. When we moved in here, I replaced all the light bulbs with the Philips Hue light bulbs. So they can be adjusted all the time. And that's something I really like. I thought, let me just try this out. This will just be like a fun thing, and maybe it'll occasionally be useful. And now it is just absolutely love it. And my wife and I love the fact that we can just from control center really quickly turn on or off the light bulbs, or put it into movie mode, or all these kinds of things that we couldn't have done before. So that's a case of where putting a tiny computer in a light bulb might sound stupid, but then actually once you do it, you realize, oh, this is quite useful. That right there is the key. Is the thing useful to you? And while, Brady, I might very strongly recommend that you say try the 6 Plus next time around when you get a phone. I am not pushing you to get an Apple Watch, and the reason is because everything I know about you suggests to me the Apple Watch might be terrible for you, because you seem to live a life that is constantly bouncing between things. You bounce between email, you bounce between Twitter, you always check lots of stuff. And since that is your fundamental personality, it feels to me like a phone is as far as you need to go.
Yeah, you think you'd be giving drugs to a drug addict?
In a way, yeah. The last thing you need is Twitter on your phone. The last thing you need is Twitter on your watch. I don't think that's good for you. I am really locked down with all of my technology. And I'm going into the Apple Watch with the assumption that this will be the most locked down device that I have. And if it is useful to me in one or two cases, that's a win. That's great for me. But I would not recommend this for you right away to say, oh, you need to go get an Apple Watch. Brady, you'll love it. I could actually see an Apple Watch just destroying your entire life piece by piece, because you're just constantly getting notifications all the time now, and that would just not be good. There are a whole bunch of reviews that came out about the watch. Did you happen to see the one that The Verge did? It was Nilay Patel, I think is the guy's name. He did a video review.
No, I've not seen it.
I would say if people are going to check out two reviews because I read a bunch of them and I thought it was so I read a whole lot. I would say the two to check out are John Gruber's written review, which is very different from the rest. Yeah,
I have read that.
So he wrote a review, and then I think The Verge's Nilay Patel did a video review, and I think those two together give you a very good sense of the watch. But there was one little moment in Nilay Patel's review which I found very frustrating, where he's talking about, because he's had the watch for a week, and he's talking about how distracted he finds himself. And he did make one very good point about how looking at your watch comes with a whole lot of cultural baggage, which is not something that really occurred to me. But of course, when someone looks at their watch in front of you, there's almost no more indirectly rude gesture that you could possibly make to a person.
Yeah.
And so he was complaining that because he's getting notifications on Twitter and email and Instagram likes that the people around him are aware of how distracted he is.
Mm.
And all I could think of was, well, this is your own damn fault, right? Like you have left all of these notifications on. If you're going to get a watch and you're going to leave all of those notifications on, you shouldn't own a watch. Like that sounds terrible.
If you're going to lock it down so much that only the most extreme notifications make it to your wrist, then why bother in the first place? Why not just have your phone vibrate in your pocket? If you're going to use it so little that it's not saving you taking your phone out of your pocket 50 times a day, then what's the watch saving you at all? It's saving you 2 or 3 times taking your phone out of your pocket. Well, that's hardly worth it.
The iPhone 6 Plus is designed to stay in the pocket more. So I am looking at the watch as like an extension of my iPhone 6, right? And so I'm imagining that the limited notifications that I want are primarily from family, maybe from Brady, depending on how much he messages me. But I can see it being really useful to know in a different way about certain kind of notifications. So when I went to the Apple Store today, for example, the thing that was really interesting is you can put it on your wrist, and you can't use it on your wrist, but it runs through a little demo loop. And the thing that they have is this tap notification that makes it feel like the watch is tapping your wrist.
Yeah.
And that to me seems like the primary selling feature of, I can see wanting to route different kinds of notifications through this system so that when someone messages, I know that it is my wife in this very immediate way. And that's where I can see the watch being useful. And there are other scenarios where I can imagine the watch being useful, but I think I need to actually have it to try it out and to see how it works. This is a piece of technology that I wouldn't be surprised if I get the watch and through using it feel like, you know what, this actually isn't super helpful. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Whereas with the phone, when I got it, it was obvious that this is going to become part of my life, even though I don't know how. Whereas the watch feels like there is a much greater possibility that I could get this watch and return it very quickly within the window of like, you know what, this isn't for me. Eventually, at some point, I will have a watch, but do I want to start with the first generation? Maybe not. I'm getting it because I think the odds are it will be useful, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that I don't actually like it, that I too find it a bit too distracting or not as helpful as I want. But the bottom line is, I think if you are a notification junkie, if this is your personality type, which I kind of think you are, you shouldn't get the watch, I don't think. If you're the kind of person who is more on my end of the spectrum of being very deliberate and very much locking down your technology, then I think the watch sounds like it has more possible use for you. So that's the way. But this is just very exploratory for me, and honestly, I'm just very interested in this piece of technology. So that's all. That's one of the reasons why.
What did you think of the look of it? What did you think of touching it and seeing it? I have not seen it. What was that? What was your impression?
Yeah, so it was interesting. Actually, I'll just send you. I took a picture at the Apple Store today. So I took a photograph of it on my wrist. And one of the reasons I wanted to see them in person is because you just have no sense of them looking at the Apple page.
Yeah.
In no small part because Apple shows you these ginormous photographs of the watch, right? Like I'm trying to look at a picture of the Apple Watch, but I'm on a 27-inch monitor. And so the watch is 2 feet across on my screen. It's like, wow, that looks really big.
Yeah.
It is very different looking at them in person. And I like them better than I thought I would in person. Some of them I liked much less. So I think you do, even if you pre-ordered the watch, you should still go into the store and take a look at them because they're just different than you think they're going to be. And you have to handle them. So I would say overall it was very positive. I was impressed by some of the watches, and
I mean, it does look big on your wrist, and you're not a tiny guy. You've got solid arms and big hands and stuff. So, and it looks big. It looks big. Oh, I don't know how to say that. Like, you're not a fat guy, but you're a big guy. And
I'm taller than you. Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, you're bigger than me. And I imagine your wrists and hands are bigger than mine, and it looks big on your hand.
Yeah, that is the 42 millimeter version of the watch. And I like that one. The one that I sent you the picture of is I tried out and I pre-ordered the Link bracelet watch.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did like about it is it's a heavy watch. Like I've always really liked weighty watches.
Yeah.
And the only other one that I was considering was the black aluminum watch with the sport band. And I tried that one out. And when I picked it up, it felt like a feather. It felt like it just weighed absolutely nothing.
Right.
Which I know it shouldn't matter, but I find that a very unpleasant experience in a watch. I always want to feel a watch on my wrist when I wear it. And so the Link bracelet one was very solid in the hands. And so I found that I was like, oh, very good. I like this a lot. I hope Apple doesn't actually spend all of their time and engineering effort trying to make it constantly lighter and lighter.
Yeah.
But that's why some people will absolutely hate that and they'd want a lighter watch. So you just have to try them in person. But it was very interesting going into the Apple store. They had all of the watches kind of locked underneath the desk, and the guy would bring them out, and you could try them on and see them. So I got to just take a look at a bunch of them, like the Milanese bracelet. It was just a very interesting experience, and it's a very interesting piece of technology.
It's not nicer than my Speedmaster, is it?
You know what the thing is? Brady? It's like comparing apples and kiwi fruit.
Yeah.
They're totally different objects designed for totally different purposes. And one of the things that does make me slightly concerned did come from Gruber's review, is talking about how often you glance at a watch without realizing you're glancing at a watch.
Yeah.
And that's something I know I do all the time, is just looking at my watch to get a sense of what the time is. But because the Apple Watch screen isn't on constantly, it requires a gesture to know to wake up to show you the screen. And that might be something that just drives me crazy. And that might be a reason to return the watch if I find it's not something that I can get used to, because I am aware of how much I sort of subtly turn my wrist to look at the watch and see what time it is.
Yeah.
Also, what I really want to know is, how do I check what time it is when I'm in the theater or something? Like in Las Vegas, I'm watching these shows. I definitely looked at my watch during those shows, but I don't want to do that if it's going to turn on and be really bright in a dim theater. Like there are lots of little weird social questions about how is this going to work. And I can imagine a whole audience of people with digital watches that light up every time they rotate their wrists being super distracting in something like a theater situation.
No, we'll see what happens. I'm not happy about it, but...
Well, the lucky thing is, Brady, that there's no requirement that you get a watch.
Well, I know, but, maybe it'll become a thing, and then I'll have to.
But you don't have to. You literally never have to buy this.
No, I know. I mean, there's lots of things I don't have to do, but you can't have to.
I do not think that the watch will become as required as a smartphone is.
I don't have to have a smartphone.
This is exactly it. You don't have to have a smartphone either, but I think we can safely say that there is a certain level of expectation that almost everybody has a smartphone at this stage. And there are very many things in your life that would be more difficult without the smartphone.
But maybe that's going to happen with watches.
My suspicion is that 90% of the benefit of being connected to the internet and having a tiny computer on you all the time comes from the phone. And there may be additional benefit to be gained from the watch. But I think you can live without the watch for a very long time.
I think the watch is going to become standalone though. Just like initially an iPhone was nothing without a computer, and now an iPhone is standalone. I think watches will become standalone and eventually may replace the phone.
Of course, the watch will eventually be standalone, but it's always going to be limited by being a smaller screen. That's why I think you can hold on to your phone and just wait until we get to the retinal implant stage. That's what I'm looking forward to. We're not there yet. The watch is an in-between device.
Hey everyone, this episode has been sponsored by Backblaze. Backblaze is online backup for your computer for just $5 a month. Now, I use Backblaze myself, and it's one of the best computery things I've ever done. About a year or so back, I reckon now, I had a catastrophic computer failure. I lost a lot of data. Not everything, and yes, I had my time capsule, so I did rescue a lot, but some stuff was gone forever. It was a real wake-up call. And I'm sure you can imagine the disapproving grunts and sighs that Gray made when I told him about it. And he told me then, as he had a million times before, that I needed online backup. Something out of the house, something safe, something in the cloud. And at that point, long before Hello Internet existed, I signed up for Backblaze. Now, since signing up, I haven't had a problem. I've not needed the backup. But one day I might. And I'll tell you something else. For $5 a month, you cannot buy the peace of mind I get from having it. It's always working on my computer in the background, gradually backing up files over the internet. It's like magic. And I live without the stress of having all my eggs in one basket here at the house. You can't put a price on that. And I'd be saying the exact same thing, even if Backblaze weren't sponsoring this podcast, which they are and which we're grateful for. A few extra things worth telling you. If you do have a big time failure, they can send you a hard drive with your data all backed up, so you don't have to take everything back down through the internet tubes like it was uploaded. I think there is a fee for that, but that's pretty handy and will save you a lot of time. They also have an app where you can remotely access individual files that you've backed up from your computer, which I think is quite nifty. You can do that if you're away from the house. Now, you can trial Backblaze without a credit card, give them a go, start a backup, and see what you think of the whole setup. I think once you see it, there's a really good chance you'll be signing up for good, like I did. Go to backblaze.com/hellointernet. That way, when you do sign up, they'll know you came from the podcast, which is handy for us. That address again, backblaze.com/hellointernet. I cannot recommend them highly enough. It's a really good service. It's brilliant. It is working right now as I speak on my computer, and it has made my life a lot more relaxing. Let's talk about...
Oh, God, should we? It's so late.
I think we have to. I think people will expect us to.
Oh God. Okay, I'll have to edit down the intro.
Yeah, well, that's your problem.
It is my problem.
Do you want to skip it? And let it shake out for another 2 weeks.
Okay, you know what? Let's just try to do this quickly. Let's at least touch on it, because this is one of the rare times that our podcast will come out relatively soon after we've actually recorded it and some piece of news has come up. So
everyone is gonna. I mean, we've already seen people want us to talk about the latest machinations with the YouTube subscription service. Yes. Do you want to give a quick executive summary of the state of play as we record?
Well, the state of play as we record is, as always with YouTube, somewhat uncertain. But the gist of it is that YouTube has announced that they are intending to, at some point in the future, have a subscription service where people pay YouTube money in exchange for not having ads on YouTube videos. Yeah. And there are no real concrete details. I think you and I can both say that, well, I assume you have as well. We have received emails from YouTube telling us that they would like us to review their new terms and conditions, and won't we please accept them, that are paving the way for this to eventually happen.
They've been quite proactive about that too. They normally...
I can't imagine how many emails you must have received with all of your accounts, because I felt like I got a whole bunch of emails from YouTube about, hey, click this link and then click this agree button. And
I've got an actual human being emailing me about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're the next level up.
Yeah.
I'm just dealing with the bots over here.
Right.
But yeah, so this is something that is going to happen, is the YouTube subscriptions. And
so just in case people don't understand, because it's easy to misunderstand, it's the way it sounds is if you don't if you're a viewer, nothing's going to change. You can keep
Right, yeah.
watching YouTube videos. You can keep watching Gray's videos. They'll have the little ads on them. But you can also pay the $10 and have this ad-free experience. So it's not
Right.
like anything's going behind a paywall. You're just
Yes.
paying for the convenience of decluttering the experience.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's an excellent point, because yes, I do think some people are confusing it with a paywall, which is exactly what I don't want to do. I don't want to put stuff behind a paywall, which is partly why I didn't sign up with Vessel. It's like I'm trying to avoid that. I would be really irritated if YouTube was mandating a paywall. So that is not the case. That's not what's happening.
And the other thing that seems very much to be the case is we don't have a choice. Like, people like me and Gray, it seems, are not going to have a choice here. This is just the way YouTube's going to work now. And the choice we do have, as I understand it, and this is sort of how it seems to be, this is how it's being said publicly as well, is we could deactivate advertising from our videos, but if we want to have advertising on our videos to help us earn an income, we have to be part of this other program where people can opt out. There's no choice here.
It's a false choice. Hold on, let me just pull up something really quickly that I was taking notes of before. I don't know why it's not on my computer here. Hold on a second. I need to go get my other computer. I was taking some notes. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Talk to the listeners.
Hey, everyone. So, while Gray's away, let's talk more about cricket. No, I'm only kidding. Although, seriously, we should talk about cricket sometime. Maybe I'll start another podcast on the side. Brady's Cricket Corner. You up for it? You gonna come with me?
Ugh.
No? All right, let's just get back to this technology stuff. Shh, don't tell him what I said. Don't tell him.
Hello? Are you there?
Yeah, cool, yeah.
So where is this little... Okay, so I was trying to take notes on this before. I sent off the terms and conditions and things to my entertainment lawyer to review, because whenever something's written in legalese, even if you think you're understanding it, you can't really understand it, because it's kind of like when you read something about physics, they use words in ways that you don't expect. So like the word work or energy in physics have very particular meanings. And I always feel like when I'm reading these legal contracts, I know the words have specific meanings that mean something to lawyers, but I feel like I might be getting a different take on it. So
Sorry, I haven't listened to a word you said since you said you had an entertainment lawyer.
I'm sorry.
The first question I have is, does this imply you have other lawyers? Like for other spheres of your empire?
Yeah, I mean, sort of, yeah. This is, I mean... Yeah,
okay, let's crack on.
I've talked to you about it, but yes, my biggest expenses now are like lawyers and tax attorneys, and yes, so there are a number of people who charge very high hourly rates that I work with now that I'm a business person, I guess, which is fun.
Oh, you're just lucky you haven't had a car to get serviced.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, so you've got the lawyer looking over the wording just to make sure there's no curly-whirlies in there that you weren't ready.
Yeah, I'm saying that basically because what I'm saying now is just my interpretation of this. I don't have anybody actually backing up that I know what I'm talking about. That's why that's why I wanted to say this. But so there's a section on this thing which says, there's a frequently asked questions thing which says, what happens if I do not want to participate in the new system? Okay, YouTube's answer. If you choose not to participate in our new paid offerings, you can change your video settings to private to keep the videos hosted on YouTube. So I think this has caused a lot of confusion, this line.
Because no one can see a private video. It's not even like unlisted. Like private can't be seen unless, except under very certain circumstances.
Right. If I set a video to private, the only people who can see it are people I explicitly invite to the video through
by name,
through an incredibly clumsy YouTube system.
So it's not like you could ever do this with subscribers or anything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I would have to, if I wanted to send out a video to the people who subscribe to me, one, I would need to know all their email addresses, which YouTube doesn't even give me. And two, even if I knew them, I would have to individually fill out 1.6 million forms to invite them all to watch the video, right? So this is like a Hobson's choice. Sure, if you don't want to accept it, you still have an option, which is totally crippling to everything you ever want to do.
Yeah.
So, even though I have my lawyer looking over this document, it's basically I have her doing that so that if there's something interesting, I can talk about it on the podcast. But we don't have any actual choice. It's not like I can go to YouTube and say, you know what, paragraph 3, subsection 2, I don't quite like that. YouTube's just going to tell me to buzz off, right?
Yeah, let's hammer out a deal.
Yeah, because when I sign on YouTube, there's only one option, which is a gigantic button which says click I agree. And there's nothing else. And they're so clearly just click the button, right? That's what YouTube is saying here. Just click the button. And even trying to get the text out of this little page so I could send it to my lawyer, they didn't make that easy. They're doing everything they can to make sure that you don't read it. Because even the document itself has links to other documents where other terms are defined. It's impossible to try to read through. But I'm like an idiot, and I still did my best and highlighted a whole bunch of stuff, which is just weird. But yeah, basically, we don't have any choice, and we have to sign up to this. Now,
is it, I mean, for all of this huffing and puffing and us going, oh my goodness, are we getting shafted? Is there a chance this is in our interests?
Here is the reason why I don't like being forced into it. Because, or let me back up here. I have found in my business dealings that the people who want you to agree to contracts, or the people who want to force you into contracts, are the people I least like working with and the people I most quickly end business arrangements with. Because the reason they want to force you into a contract, or they want to sign you up for 6 months or a year on something, is because they know full well that you wouldn't stay out of your own free will.
Yeah.
And the people who I continue to work with, I almost always have the barest of formal agreements, or like even just handshake verbal deals. And those people are always a pleasure to work with, because they're not trying to lock me into a contract or anything, because they know we are in a mutual beneficial situation.
Although as soon as we get to podcast 50 and I'm free of my contract, I'm going to hit the road.
I did make you sign up to a 5-year 50 episode contract, whichever comes later, actually, if you read the fine print.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I knew I should have got an entertainment lawyer.
Yeah. But I think like you and I are a good example of this.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not locked into a contract. No. Neither of us can stop this at any point in time. Yeah. But we do it, and we like doing it, and it's mutually benefit. Like everything is in agreement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm always really suspicious of, you have to sign up to this thing and you have absolutely no option.
I totally agree with you.
If it was an amazing deal, wouldn't I obviously want to sign up? Wouldn't it be stupid for me not to sign up? Like that's the way that the deal should be arranged.
Yeah, you wouldn't even need like a contract. I would just be coming back to the well time and time again because everything's so wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm suspicious of this stuff out of the gate. That's why also in my business, I basically don't really deal with long-term contracts anymore, because it's always just a disaster.
But I mean, it could just be that YouTube want to make changes that are so wholesale that they can't do them without our say-so, because it's changing, it's moving the posts. But the idea is they think they're going to make a shed load more money from it, and in turn, the creators will make a shed load more money from it.
So here,
it's possible,
right? So their whole sales pitch here is you're going to make more money. And I always look at it and go, okay, well, there's a whole lot of different kinds of people on YouTube. So what are the details? And here is what the details are so far from the documents that we have. As usual, YouTube is doing their ever so delightful 55-45% split. So I don't know where this number is exactly coming from, but everybody's saying $10 a month. You pay $10 a month to subscribe to YouTube. YouTube keeps $4.50 of that, and $5.50 of that is left over to go to creators.
Yeah.
Except then all of everybody's $5.50 are pooled together, and YouTube is going to distribute that based on some algorithm. And this is immediately where everybody starts getting their feathers ruffled about it.
So the big concern is for someone, say, like CGP Grey, is you've got your diehard fans that only care about CGP Grey videos, but then your $4.50 is being put in this huge pot with all the Taylor Swift fans who watch 500 million videos a day, and Taylor Swift gets all your $4.50 along with everything else.
Yes. As far as we'll get to this in a moment. As far as we can tell, though, the music is separate from this.
Yes.
Which
yes,
is
actually.
which also starts making me wonder about, well, anyway, we'll get to it in a moment. But yeah, everybody's in a big pool together, which
Yeah.
fundamentally changes the relationship of YouTube channels to each other, because suddenly we're competing with each other for the same pool of money, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wait a minute. If I link to Brady's video from my video, I'm actually undercutting myself if people go over and watch a whole bunch of his videos from my one video.
That's
Like,
a good
okay,
point.
I don't like this incentive all of a sudden, that it makes every channel be, I mean, we already have incentives to be kind of linking to our own stuff, but now this makes it very directly competitive to a limited pool of money. It's not like the ads where it's like, oh, the pie can get bigger for everybody else if views go. It's like, I don't like that incentive. Okay,
I hadn't thought of that. You're right. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Here's the details about this. So the 55% that's left over for content creators is going to be distributed, and here's lovely YouTube specifics, right? Based on monthly views or watch time of your content as a percentage of the monthly views or watch time of all or a subset of participating content in the relevant subscription offering as determined by YouTube. Okay. So this sentence is a little bit difficult to parse, and I'm a little bit jet lagged. But here's the way this reads to me. Either way, this is terrible for channels like myself that upload really infrequently, because I'm either getting a percentage of the views for everybody. So I upload one video a month, and I'm going to be competing my one video against every other video that's ever uploaded to YouTube. You get the percentage that way. Or the watch time percentage, which is also terrible for me because my one video is 4 minutes long or 3 minutes long, right? So
I've got a few things to say to that initially. And admittedly, I haven't thought this through like you have, so I'm probably going to say something really dumb in the next few minutes.
I have thought this through with my incredibly jet-lagged brain, so I don't even know if I'm making sense right now.
So, because I've heard people saying, oh, this is so unfair on infrequent uploaders. But also, they make less videos. They have to do less work in some ways, you know, a few nuances aside. But also this watch time thing, I don't think necessarily is bad, because I think one of the reasons you have so many views of your videos is because they're short. Like if you made your videos very long, I don't think you'd have as many views on some of your videos, the more virally ones. So I think, like, you know, keeping your overall watch time goes up because you get so many views, and you get so many views because you've been smart enough to keep them at a really, you know, optimum length. So I think that's a bit of a...
Well, here, let me interrupt you for a second. Here's the way I like to think about this stuff. My concern is much less about what are the particulars of what does this mean for me.
Yeah.
I think this is not good news for me. But I'm less concerned about that precisely because of a lot of the work I've put in the preceding months to make this less of a problem for me.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, that is why I have done all of that, so that I don't have to be having some massive freak out about needing to move into a smaller apartment because the YouTube algorithm has changed.
Yeah.
Right. Like that. Like I have spent a lot of time making sure that's not the case. So I am much calmer now than I would otherwise be.
Yeah.
But the thing that I don't like about this is it gives YouTube even more control with their algorithms about what kinds of content they want to favor.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like.
And what do you think they favor? Long stuff.
Well, who the hell knows? Because it says attributable to monthly views or watch time, you know, whatever. You guys don't need to know the specifics of this thing you're agreeing to. We haven't really decided.
We've never known the specifics, though. We've never known what's going on with the ad revenue. We just get told at the end of the month, this is what you earned.
Yeah. Okay, but so here is the part of this that I really start to think, wait a minute, what does this mean? Right, okay, monthly views or watch time, whatever. YouTube now has more control. But then there's this thing, which is right at the end where it says, to all or a subset of the participating content in the relevant subscription offering.
Yeah.
The way that reads to me is YouTube is planning to bundle channels together.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how that sounds. They're going to have the education bundle, or they're going to have the vlogger bundle, or they're going to have the gaming bundle. And people subscribe to those like their cable TV channels. Cable TV, the worst, most awfulest business in the world that everybody hates, that's all bundled together. That's the way this sounds like it's going. And so again, it's like, wait a minute. I'm reading this as you're planning to have bundles. You want me to agree to this right now. What bundle am I going to be in? Do you just get to decide who you're going to group my channel with? And now suddenly, if you are going to basically be asking me to encourage people to subscribe to your ad-free version, but you have implicitly associated me with maybe a bunch of people I don't want to be associated with, but now like when I promote those subscriptions, I'm also helping those other people. Like, I don't like this one bit. I don't like this part of it one tiny piece. And I also feel like I mean, we mentioned this before. At one of the YouTube conferences, I had a big conversation with some of the people there about why don't you offer a paid version of YouTube where we don't have to see ads? Like, I was pushing for this.
Yeah.
And I would totally pay for this. But you know what I won't do? I'm not going to pay for a bunch of bundles. Right? Because that's not how I use YouTube. I'm watching a whole bunch of random stuff on YouTube when I go there because I'm linked from somewhere else to some random video. And the notion that I'm going to try to prepay and select for particular kinds of videos that I want to see, that's just terrible.
It takes away that whole grazing nature of it as well, doesn't it? And finding new stuff. It's like you've got to commit to, these are the channels that I'm gonna. Yeah,
that to me is terrible, and it's a kind of mental cost that I just don't want to do. Can I just pay you money and never see an ad on YouTube again? I would do that.
Naively, I thought that's what was going to happen, but you've now told me otherwise.
That's what I was suggesting to YouTube, is like, let me pay you, and I think $10 a month is a bit rich, but like, let me pay you $5 a month. Fine. $5 a month is like below the threshold where I really can think about it. And I would pay that to not have to watch the ads. But if I then have to make additional decisions about pre-deciding what I'm going to watch without the ads, forget it. Now I'm not going to do this at all. That just is just not worth it anymore. But the way I read that, that's the impression that I get. And I think that's a terrible, terrible way to run this. I don't know. I mean, does it sound that way to you? Does this sound like what you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it does now.
now that I've been so charming and convincing.
Well, yeah, that little bit of language that you kind of unpacked for me a bit makes me think that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't know if this is going to happen, but I think it must happen, is they're going to load the site with so much junk and ads that you're going to be kind of pushed into signing onto this thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because at the moment I think, well, why would I bother paying? I don't mind putting up with the odd ad that I can skip anyway. But we're just going to get I can imagine there's going to be huge unskippable ads everywhere, and it's going to become such a thing that you're going to go, well, I've got to get out of this. Yeah,
that's exactly right. There's a perverse incentive now for YouTube to make their free version as terrible as possible, right? And I don't know if you have noticed this, but a few months ago, when we upload videos on the monetization page, there has been a new option, which has some hilarious name like super long unskippable ads, that has not been enabled by default. But if you check that box, I'm not even exactly sure what it means, but they even have a little warning like, oh, checking this box might dramatically drop off the number of people who actually watch your video. And I thought, well, that's an interesting option to include, YouTube, to have an ad that you're trying out that you know is going to dramatically decrease the number of people who watch a video. Why on earth would you ever introduce such a thing? And now that they're introducing the subscription, it's like, oh, these pieces are coming together. You have, I don't even know what that box does, but you have, let's say, a minute-long unskippable video before my 4-minute video. That's craziness.
Yeah.
So I always thought, like, why is this option here? And now I understand why this option is here, is because I bet in the future that is going to be enabled by default. And one of the things that I worry about is I've always been surprised that YouTube even gives us options about what kinds of ads we do or do not want on the channel.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if after agreeing to these terms, they just say, oh, part of the agreement is you just have to run all the ads. Do you hate pop-up ads on the bottom of your screen? Tough luck, right? It doesn't matter, because we want to make the free experience just terrible for everybody. and we don't care at all about what you want on those videos. It's just, I hate agreeing to this kind of stuff because there's even a section, I can't quite find it right now, but there's some section about how, once you agree to this, we reserve the right to change any of the terms at any point in time. I feel like, why even bother with an agreement at that stage, right? What am I agreeing to if it's like, oh, by the way, any of it can change at any moment? Like, why are we going through this like kabuki theater where you're pretending like you're getting some kind of agreement from me, but you are not held to any part of this agreement, but I am held to every part of it. Like, it's just,
what will happen is eventually people who haven't agreed to it are going to get a deadline that's going to say, if you haven't pressed the button or signed by this date, you're pushed into it anyway. So it's silly.
Yeah. There's one line here which is we want you to agree now, and we will share more details on the plan when we get closer to launch. So yeah, like explicitly requiring you to agree to something that you can't even find out all the details of now. I was just kind of furious reading through this document and like highlighting stuff that made me angry. I want to be really clear here. There is a possibility that this will make more money for YouTube creators, and it will be better in the future. I do not want to deny that. And I've seen some people making real doom and gloom videos about this. And I think it's a little too easy to jump straight to hyperbole about, this is going to totally destroy YouTube and everything is terrible now.
Yeah,
that's not my opinion on this.
Because people talk like this about every change to YouTube. Yeah, even if it's like cosmetic changes, it's like, you've ruined the whole site, and now I can't even remember the things I was angry about.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, this comes up all the time. So I don't think this is as disastrous as some of the things that I've seen people saying. But what I do think is just like, once again, it's like everything that YouTube does, it feels like, are you trying to intentionally push me away? Are you trying to make me feel as uncertain as I possibly can about all of your business decisions? It may well be in a year that I'm very happy about this and that revenue from the videos is up because their advertising rates are just terrible. And just like we discussed with Vessel last time, you don't need a lot of people to directly give you money in order to beat out advertising rates on YouTube. So even if a very, very small number of people ever subscribe to this, it is quite possible that it will be more profitable. But it's just, YouTube isn't making me feel good about this in the way that it is happening. And so that is what my primary objection is here. Oh, there was something else do you have any other thoughts or one other little thought about this?
No, you go, mate. My head's going to explode. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. We'll wrap this up really quickly.
No, not that. It's just not that I'm tired from the podcast. It's just I'm tired from like thinking, gosh, what does this all mean for me? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just want to make videos. Man. I just want to, I don't know at what point in my life my job moved from just having cool ideas for videos and making them and putting on YouTube to all this stuff about verticals and like 55% of this and that. Like, what happened?
Yeah, again, this is one of the things I think people underestimate because they see the videos and they go, you must make videos all day long. And it's like, there's just like, once this becomes a real job and as time goes on, there's a lot of this back end business nonsense to deal with that is just a huge pain in the butt.
Go on. Yeah, something else you wanted to bring up.
So the other thing I was going to say is that this $10 a month thing, again, this seems like a speculative number pulled out of the air from a Verge article as far as I can tell. But
yeah, I thought it was going to be 5, but anyway, I've not seen anything. That's just I don't know where I pulled 5 from, but
either way, one of the other things I think about with this is, hey, look, YouTube. I don't mean to tell you how to run your business here, but if on top of this, if you want me to pay money to you as a service, you are now playing in the Netflix game, right? This isn't just like, just remove the ads. If I'm actually paying for this, there are a lot of things on YouTube I would want to work better, like Netflix. And we talked about this on the past, but there's a lot of them. And at the very least, it's remember where I was in a video. Allow me to watch videos in chronological order. You need to have a way to let creators actually organize things in a way that makes sense. It can't just be, I'm sure YouTube will leave it this way, but it can't just be this endless pile of random videos.
Yeah.
If I'm paying for this, I would also expect it to be a much more enjoyable video watching platform. And
Because
to not,
at the moment, you just say, well, oh, YouTube's a bit flaky at the moment, but oh well, I'm not paying for it, so I can't
yeah,
complain. But
yeah, this is always with Google services is you say like, well, I don't pay for this, so I don't get to complain about stuff.
hmm.
But the minute you start transferring money over, it moves into the realm of things that you can complain about. And
Is that gonna rub off onto us as well, though, Gray? Like, because at the moment, if someone doesn't like one of my videos, I can joke and say, "Oh well, you can have your money back, ha ha." But if they're paying money to YouTube and suddenly they don't like a number file video because it wasn't what they were expecting, and they think they've paid money, are they going to start saying, "I can't believe I'm paying money for this"? Like, I know that's not the actuality of what's happening, but do you think that could come to bite us as well?
I didn't think about that.
Are people going to think they're paying for us now, and we should be, come on, CGP Grey, I can't believe you made that mistake in your video. I'm paying $10 a month to watch your stuff ad free.
Yeah, I wonder. And well, actually, it's only half of that $10 a month. Oh, actually, it's only 0.1% of that $10 a month.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. But no, it's true. It's funny. I do feel that way about. We have a Netflix subscription, and I'm aware of these shows. Maybe they're good or maybe they're not good on Netflix, and I would cancel or keep my Netflix subscription based on the quality of the shows. But that is slightly different because Netflix does not have a free option where you can just watch everything. But
yeah.
One of the other things I wonder about, and I'll just lay this down as future follow up if anyone ever wants to remember this. I bet this goes the way of cable TV, that eventually in little corners ads start to sneak back in. That maybe it's just an ad when you're at youtube.com and it plays at the top, but sooner or later YouTube is not going to be able to resist the temptation of like double dipping on the subscription and on the advertising.
Because those people that have paid the monthly fee are probably the premium eyeballs too, that the advertisers most want.
This is exactly it, right? There are many services that I use that I am happy to pay the money to get rid of the ads for. And part of that is because I'm a person who highly values my time and my attention. Like, guess what? That's exactly the person that the advertisers want to reach.
And also, you're the sort of person that has a degree of disposable income because you can pay for stuff.
That's exactly it. Because I can afford to pay for getting rid of the ads. I can decide to drop a bunch of money on Apple Watch just because I want it. So, like, I am obviously someone that advertisers want to reach more than, say, like a college kid who's just watching the videos for free. They're less interested in that audience.
Yeah.
And one of the final things that has me worried, speaking of double dipping in a way, is we can now, at this current state and time, embed ads in our own videos at the end. Right? So like Squarespace, like Audible.
Yep.
And there are many reasons we do that, not least of which because the YouTube ads are borderline worthless.
Yeah.
But one of the things I wonder about is, I highlighted it here. So there's a section on the FAQ which says, which ads are the ones that are going to be removed in the subscription service. It says, we, YouTube, are referring specifically to the YouTube advertising formats.
Yeah.
There are no changes to any other agreements that the creators may have made, which includes things like product placements, branded advertisements within the videos.
Yep.
Okay, so now here is suddenly what I think is a massive conflict from the customer perspective.
Yep.
If I'm paying YouTube for an ad-free experience, but YouTube is also still allowing creators to put ads in their own videos or to do ads that are basically entirely videos, I'm going to be pretty pissed if I'm paying money for an ad-free experience.
Yeah.
Like just last month, I told people I'm going to have ads at the end of my videos.
Yeah.
And now YouTube says, oh, we're going to have an ad-free subscription service. I feel like, well, now I'm in a really terrible position because like I want the audience to be happy, but I would be really pissed if there's an ad in a video that I'm paying for an ad-free experience. And I don't know how YouTube is going to resolve this, except for eventually basically changing this part and telling YouTubers, no, you can't embed your own ads in the videos. But I think this is like,
I think that will cause them huge problems.
Yeah.
Not so much in our case. If they did that to us, well, we just have to take our medicine. But some other things, some other channels, I think, are really more dependent. As you know, there are whole commercial operations based on that. And
yeah,
maybe people will accept it. Like I would pay for an ad-free experience to watch, say, the Super Bowl without ads, but I'm not going to be able to avoid all the ads all over the field and the fences and on everyone's clipboards and stuff like that. So ad-free doesn't mean ad-free necessarily. It just means one type of ad-free. And maybe people will accept that. That will become the grammar. But you're right. If people go overboard and start doing really obvious things like, you know, having a 30-second Dr. Pepper ad run at the start of the video, just like a pre-roll, well, there's going to be problems.
Because the ads I'm putting in my videos are at the end.
Yeah.
But like I can very easily see a situation where for creators like me or creators who just upload very infrequently, if this new system turns out that you earn less money because of the way the distribution breaks down, like, well, now there's even more incentive to put ads that you sell yourself in your own videos.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, this is a horrible, horrible cycle. This isn't working out very well. I think YouTube is in kind of a tricky situation with this, because I know for a fact there are channels that if YouTube told them you can't embed videos anymore, they would walk away from YouTube. That the money from the embedded video, the money from the embedded ads is much, much greater than the money that they're ever going to get from YouTube.
But do they only get that money for the embedded ad because they have a big YouTube subscription base? Like, not everyone can walk away from YouTube and take their audience with them.
The way Vessel operates right now is Vessel does explicitly allow people to also have embedded ads in their videos. And although you're paying for Vessel, I think that Vessel has the big advantage that it is the new thing and it is able to establish what it is right from the start. So even though you pay for Vessel, it works just like Hulu, where there are still ads even though you pay. And as I think we discussed in the last podcast, like I am impressed by some of the very big YouTubers they've been able to pull over to Vessel. And I think that like there are people who have big enough audiences that follow them separately that they could walk away from YouTube. So
yeah.
I think YouTube is in a bit of a tricky situation when they want to start introducing this subscription service that's ad-free, but you're right, like they're going to have problems if they try to force the YouTube channels to give up embedded ads, but it's precisely because YouTube isn't making them enough money, but they're it's like it's a messy situation. So I don't know how this is going to pan out.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You know my background's in newspapers, and a lot of my friends still work there and are working on paywalls and ways to make money in newspapers. And everything fails. Everything newspapers try to make money fails with subscriptions and paywalls. And they don't make enough from advertising if it's free. And I've always sort of smiled at them and go, hey, you old-fashioned guys, you know, you're old dinosaurs and you're dying because you're not used to the internet. And I'm now looking at myself and YouTube and I'm thinking, are we any different? We don't make enough from advertising. People won't pay for subscriptions. Maybe a golden age is coming to an end and a lot of people are going to start being in trouble.
I mean, Brady, we're doing just fine. We're not in the newspaper business.
Yeah, but right. Newspapers were doing just fine. I mean, some newspapers are still doing just fine. I'm just saying, like, a lot of the things we're talking about now, the problems that YouTube are about to have, are exactly the same problems newspapers are having. Newspapers have said, we're not making enough from advertising when it's free. We need to introduce subscriptions, and then that has failed. YouTube have obviously said, we're not making enough from advertising. We need to introduce introduce subscriptions, it sounds almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Okay. But I just want to be really clear here. There's a big difference between YouTube's business and our businesses, right? YouTube may be in trouble. I think it's pretty clear that we as the video producers are not in trouble.
Okay.
Do you disagree with that?
Don't know.
You haven't done it, but I have set up the RSS feed. I have direct support from Patreon. I will have embedded ads in my RSS feeds. I could walk away from YouTube today and be fine,
Okay.
because I'm making videos that people want to watch. And
Yeah.
although it would be much more of a hassle for you to do it, I think you could do it as well, because there are people who want to watch your videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
You like, and now don't get me wrong, this would be like a massive hit in my business. But if something came up with YouTube that I really didn't like, this would be doable. I don't want to do it, but it would be doable. That's why I just want to make it really clear here. Like, I don't feel like a newspaper, like, oh, my business is crumbling down around me. It just feels like YouTube is in a terrible position with trying to make this subscription thing work. But I don't feel like YouTube's problem is only my problem in as much as a large section of my audience is on YouTube.
Yeah.
But that's the whole reason why I've been setting myself up so that I am not dependent on YouTube. And that's what I think that's also why, like, Derek of Veritasium had his video about YouTube being a potato and why he was moving over to Vessel. And people can go over to Vessel. And as we discussed last time, there are ways that Vessel can be profitable with a much smaller audience. So I don't think that the business of people who make stuff that people on the internet like is in trouble. Those people are doing just fine. I think institutions like YouTube are in trouble, and newspapers are in trouble because newspapers are just kind of terrible. They're making stuff that people don't really want to watch, that isn't super valuable, or people don't want to read. And it was actually really funny. On our trip, my wife actually, just for fun, agreed to have the hotel deliver a newspaper to our room.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of her at one point reading the newspaper, because she just had the biggest frown on her face. And she was going, what is this? I have to switch over to page 16 to continue this story. I have to jump all around. And she goes, there's nothing in this story. I thought I was going to learn something about Las Vegas with the local Las Vegas newspaper, but it's all just AP stories and stuff that it's like, oh, this is a terrible experience. So I was like, yeah, of course that business is doing terribly because it's terrible. Anyway, sorry, I seem to have gotten off on my I hate news rant again.
I was going, where did this happen?
I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, so yeah, I think if you make stuff that people like on the internet, like, there are ways to make that work. But, whatever YouTube is doing with their business, I'm not. This subscription thing may be great and it may not be great, but it feels really uncertain now, as opposed to Vessel, which when I heard about it, I was like, man, that's a great idea. It's not, for me, it's not something that I'm going to do, but it's obviously a very workable idea. I don't feel that way with the YouTube subscription. The YouTube subscription thing feels like, man, I wish I could stay out of this to see how it goes, but YouTube won't let me. YouTube is going to force me into it.
Dare I say it? Do you think they're doing it in a half-assed manner?
I think there is nothing half-assed about this coercion.
No.
that they know how to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what happens. Who knows? Maybe in 6 months we'll be saying the subscriptions are great and I'll be looking at it on my Apple Watch. I went to Australia.
Right.
I had
I
problems.
can hear you drinking over there.
Well, what am I supposed to do? You edit that out. That's like your job.
Yeah, I know that's my job.
Well, then what's the point of telling me you heard me?
I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry.
All right.
I have no idea why that just happened.
Okay.
I should have just kept my mouth shut. Now I have this whole section to edit out. I can still hear you drinking. Just
It's because I'm still drinking.
Okay. Are you done?
Finished now.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
At least I haven't touched the microphone yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So